somebody who wanted to call in.
Probably
Okay,
corruption.
his video's done.
Those kinds of things.
His video's done. Let's
You
see if he'll
pull
do it.
up Manar? Manar? Oh, he's deafened. Manar?
Look, let's go!
Who wanted to call in? Hold on.
Yes, hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hey. What's up, Tom?
How's it going?
Hey, man, do you mind if I'm recording this as well?
Yeah, sure. What's up?
Nothing, man. I really like you, man. I'm really inspired by you. I'm very unhappy that you're not on Twitch anymore, but I've been following you for a hot minute, and yeah, you're very inspiring, man. I just kind of disagree with you on a couple of stances, I believe, and I wanted to know your position on a couple of issues as well. And I saw your Destiny interview recently, and I had a couple of questions on that, so I was hoping we can talk about that a little bit, and we can dive on wherever you want to go first.
Yeah, sure. What's up?
All right, so I guess let's start with the Democratic Party. You would call yourself a liberal, correct?
Yeah, sure. Like I've said before, like I don't really like feel like I identify with any of these labels. Like I feel like kind of like politically homeless and just in the center. But I don't mind if people call me a liberal.
So I
definitely
need to label you because I don't know what to call you other than that.
Yeah, that's
Like
fine.
I need to know what like. So would you say the closest thing that could define you maybe is a liberal, values, morality wise, policy wise, what you care about why?
Kind of see, that's the problem, is that like when it comes to like what liberals want, when it comes to like a lot of their policy positions, like things like positions on guns, positions on
This is awesome.
like global warming, even positions on Medicare for all, positions on like just like abortion, like it feels like most of their like their main positions that you would think of, the like stereotypical liberal positions, are the ones that I disagree with. But I don't think that the Republican Party is like a better option currently. And so while I think that I will agree with Republicans on maybe even most things, as far as values go, I don't think that their engagement with reality is real. I don't think that they honestly engage with reality, and I think the Democrats do. So I just think that they're just like much better at dealing with issues.
So I want you to dive a little bit deeper on why you don't believe Republicans don't engage in reality or engage in reality worse than the Democrats. And then I need to understand this. So you would say you align more with Democrats than Republicans, correct?
Yes.
Okay, then dive a little bit deeper. So you align with the Democrats. I would call you a liberal. You don't call yourself a liberal, but if you align with democratic values or you're aligned with democratic morality, you voted for Kamala. I don't know what else I can call you. You understand me? You want to create your own, maybe an anarchist. I know what you mean, but those are all basically
No. I'm not saying that.
of
No, hold
liberalism.
on. I'm not
To
saying
me,
that.
they're factions.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if you took like my beliefs and my values, that I would probably be like more of like a neocon sort of conservative. But because there isn't any representation for neocons on the right.
Well, it's clear you don't like the Republicans, though.
Yeah, kind of, though, because even the MAGA group currently considers themselves anti-Republican. They consider themselves against the establishment, against the GOP. So even they don't consider themselves like with the Republicans.
Let's dive a little bit deeper then. What values do you care about then that maybe make the Democratic Party more appealing to you? I'm trying to understand this because I know what you mean. There's a lot of nuance, but what values do you matter to you? Obviously, you're not religious, so.
Well, as I said, it seems like the most appealing thing about them is just their ability to engage with reality. So when we're talking about what's going on in the world, it seems like Democrats in like liberal media are just way more likely to be able to tell you what is actually happening. They're willing to engage with institutions. They're willing to engage with data, studies. They're willing to use numbers. They're willing to um, they're willing to engage with what's really going on in the world, whereas the other side is going to make up shit about, like, you know, Jewish space lasers, or the hurricanes are being controlled by the government, or the Haitians are eating your cats and dogs, or the election was stolen, or like just that, that Trump didn't really break all of those laws that are real laws and that are on the books, and that, like, he admitted to doing. Like, it's just, yes, these are they have no engagement with reality currently, and
But
Democrats do.
I would say that's the same. That's the actual same argument the Republicans would say that why they don't like the Democrats. Not only do they not align morally and value wise, but also when they look at the Democrats creating arguments for their country and say, "Hey, don't worry, immigration is great. Hey, Kamala Harris is the same administration, but she's actually the signal for change." Even though after the View asks her, "Hey, you are you going to change anything?" She says, "No, I'm not going to change anything, and I was there in every major decision." But then she's kind of run for change. I would say that the actual Republicans are literally making the same argument against the Democrats and saying, "Hey, we are disassociating. We don't want to vote for the Democrats because they're gaslighting us. They're telling us that the world is amazing, and or not only are they gaslighting us and saying that the world is amazing, or they'll say, yeah, the world is horrible, but you're going to have to sacrifice for Ukraine." So I would say, isn't that the same argument Republicans do? Like, isn't that the same argument Republicans hate the Democrats for?
Yes, but I'm saying that they're wrong. Like,
Okay,
even the
so
things that
here,
you just brought up, like, that's not like a real full position to say, like, oh, Democrats said immigration is great. It's like, that's not a real quote. Nobody could just say immigration is great, because what part of immigration? What is it a real problem? Is there something that's actually causing issues? Are they really coming over and raping and murdering people? Are they really opening up prisons and mental institutions and just letting all of them come over the border? Are they really just inviting busloads of people to come into the country and flood in so that they can get them to vote for Democrats? Like, those things, none of those things are fucking real. The fact that even Trump said that there were 20 million illegal immigrants that came in under Biden, there's literally nothing that justifies that fucking number. So the way that they talk about immigration is so far outside of reality. Whereas when Democrats talked about immigration, they said, we need to get more patrol at the border. We need to get more judges. There's too many people applying for asylum. We're detaining way too many people at once to where we have humanitarian issues. They acknowledge that there are tons of people coming to the border right now, but it wasn't because of them. It was because of fucking COVID. And so they didn't cause the issue, but they're doing their best to deal with it.
sorry,
But
I
Biden
don't
couldn't deal
remember
with
that.
it. Only fucking Congress could. And so they tried to get Congress to do what they called the bipartisan immigration bill, and they tried to solve the fucking issues.
Look, just because you said they did that doesn't mean that the American people are going to care about it. Just because you say, "Oh, look, in
Sure, but I
California, they're
don't care
working
if they
really
care.
hard to end homelessness." Why do the Californians care if their homeless are ravaging their town? They're not going to believe you. You need to show proof. So just because you say, "Hey, we really care about immigration," how does that matter when you
Hold on,
open the border?
that's not what I was talking
Ask
about. That's not what I'm saying. That when you say, oh, they said immigration is great, it's like, I don't know where that quote came from, but obviously they had issues with immigration that they were trying to deal with. They were the ones coming up with solutions and trying to deal with immigration problems, and they were the ones who were trying to, like, fix what was going on, whereas Republicans
Okay,
weren't, but they were continuing to blame them for these issues, and they were issues that didn't exist, like 20 million illegals coming over the border, or
yeah,
busloads
okay,
of
but do you agree it
them
was 10?
bringing
Do
people
you
in
agree it
to
was
vote.
10? Do you agree then it was 10? It wasn't 20?
10 million illegals?
Yeah, do you agree it was 10 million illegals? That's what
No,
some reports mention.
no. From
See,
the
this is the problem
commission
that me and
report
you were never going
is
to agree on this.
Yes, but
So let's move
this
on.
is again. Wait, no, because this is, if we're going to talk about why there is this separation here, let's talk about why there's a separation. Because yes, if I'm looking at government reports that say it's 1.7 million getaways and evades, and this is like a Republican
Okay,
Commission
Let
report
me give you an
that says
example.
1.7 million, yet you guys still want to get 10 million
Let
somehow?
me give you an
Give me
example. Let
something
me give
that
you an
says 10
example.
million.
Let me give you an example. Very recently, BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, came up with a certain number saying this many jobs came underneath Biden. And so, if you were a 100% like you, a non-believer in any conspiracy, like let's call them conspiracy theories, that like, let's call the other idea, the opposite idea, that no, there isn't a million job increases. It's much less than that. Let's call that a conspiracy, right? So if you were not a conspiracy theorist, you would have 100% believed the BLS's numbers, which were completely debauched in a way that was never seen in at least 20 to 30 years since the BLS has actually been counting numbers. For some reason, they created a statistical disaster when they were counting their numbers and came up with almost a million shorter jobs, which we've never seen. I mean, we've seen. Look, we've seen analysis that wasn't completely accurate, but we've never seen it on this scale. So what you're saying is, if I wasn't a conspiracy theorist, I would have 100% been forced to believe these numbers, never been able to look at any other numbers, and then after the fact, when the after the election, when they do the revision, or as close as possible to the election, when they do the revision, then I'm allowed to start believing these new numbers. See, this is the problem. This is why the
No,
Republicans
I'm not
sit
saying
there
that.
and
I'm not saying that. So I don't
I
know
just
why.
give you an example. This is an
Yes,
example. So
but
how
that's
would
not an
you
example
respond to
that's
this? Am I allowed?
representative.
No,
I
but Tom, you have to respond to this. Am I allowed to be skeptical about these job numbers when I see reports that are opposite to them? Am I allowed, or am I a conspiracy theorist here?
Okay, so hold on. You are naming insanely fucking different things and acting like they're the same. One
I'm just giving you
is
an example. Answer
yes,
to that
hold on.
specific example.
But
The
yes, and
VLS.
I'm telling you, I'm trying to explain that your example doesn't make sense, and so I will explain my difference here. Is that one is you're saying we can just, if we're a conspiracy theorist, we just totally don't believe these numbers. Whereas if I'm not a conspiracy theorist, then I just take whatever they say and don't ask any questions. That's not, but then after that, then you say, am I not allowed to be skeptical? These are all very different things. If you are getting numbers from anybody, you should be skeptical of them all the time. You should want them to be double checked. You should want some sort of like process to make sure that that's actually the real number. You should want journalists double checking the numbers and saying whether or not these are real. But to say like, oh, if I'm a conspiracy theorist, I just don't believe anything. And if I'm not a conspiracy theorist, then I just take whatever's handed to me. Nobody engages in this way. Literally nobody.
Yeah, you
Like,
would call me. Look, all I'm mentioning is, if I, using that example, if I was looking at contradicting reports according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, there were contradicting reports, but it wasn't directly from the governmental organization. It wasn't completely accepted as mainstream governmental reporting. Then I would be a conspiracy theorist. You would be calling me a Republican that's peddling misinformation, bad information, even though after the fact, your own sources are going to have to agree with me. So my question is, respond to that actual position here, my actual example here. Am I a misinformation Republican pusher, or am I a person that's looking in? I got an opposite view, and we need to actually start discussing this. And I'm having a real personal problems with this. Like, I'm having objections about this, and I want to voice them out.
okay, yes, but that is the response that I just gave is the response
You
that
would
like,
call me, no, you would call me a misinformation peddler.
hold on. That just disagreeing with something, if you have numbers behind it, is not an odd thing. When you said, well, what about 10 million? I said, well, give me something that actually says 10 million. I didn't say, oh, you're just a fucking
Okay,
conspiracy
there were
theorist. I didn't
certain
say that. I
reports.
said, give me something that says 10 million, because I'll give you
There
something
were
that says
certain
1.7
third-party
million.
reports, independent from governmental organizations, part of NGOs, that created these reports, and they came up with these numbers. But apparently, that's why I brought you this example, because earlier I mentioned the same
Wait,
thing. You
the
told me
10
basically, if it
million
wasn't
number?
a governmental organization, you wouldn't believe the numbers.
Wait, the 10 million number?
Yeah, like the 10 million. I can show you reports that there's a 10
Yeah,
million number.
I'm happy to look at it. Yes, if they it depends on the process that they use. Like all of it depends on like how they're coming to this conclusion. Because when it comes to the government, they actually have like the actual border agents who are there, who are witnessing these things. They
Okay,
actually have
okay,
camera footage. They actually
understand
have,
my
and so
question here.
hold on, wait, hold on. I'm saying that they actually are like these are the people who report the information, and they're the people who would know best. Now, if somebody else came out and said, "Hey, we talked to border agents, and they said that the numbers that they reported did not go on that official report, and that and then we were able to go and get other information from inside people who were able to show us that the numbers were manipulated. That at one point it said 1.7 million, or at one point it said 10 million, and then they changed it, and we can't find out why the numbers changed when everything adds up to 10 million. Then yes, I would start to be very skeptical of that 1.7 million number. But if I don't have that, and I just have somebody saying like, yeah, we went and did our own analysis and this is the number, but they don't tell me how they got to that number, I don't have any math, I don't have any like way
Okay,
to
Tom, let
engage
me give
with
you
it.
another argument then. Here's the second argument is that if you actually just want to rely on one governmental organization, you're going to open yourself up to human error in a much more widely way. Instead, if you open yourself to multiple organizations committing to the same investigations and creating the same reporting, you are in much better shape. You're coming up with much better numbers. Would you agree
There's
with me
not,
or
it's not
disagree? So
what
that's the whole
I don't
argument is
wait.
that the
I'm saying
idea
that
that
that's a
only the
straw
government
man.
is allowed to. No, let me finish. The idea that only the government is allowed to come up with these numbers and no independent party or source is allowed to contradict this. And if we do, we are Republican misinformation peddlers, is kind of ridiculous. You have to agree with.
I don't. So if you ask me, Tom, how many times did you go pee today? And I say, I went pee 10 times. And then somebody else comes in and they're like, actually, I say Tom went pee 50 times. Like, okay, how did you come to that information? They're like, wow, you're really only going to accept one source? What? No, I'm asking you how you came to the fucking information. You have to be able to prove your own fucking numbers. The government is the authority on how many people came over the border. They just are the authority. I am the authority on how many times I went pee today. That's me. Nobody else knows, just fucking me. But if you think you know, you can try to prove it. You can try to show how I went pee 20, 50 times today. But we would need that fucking that evidence, and that's what I'm saying is that when other outside agencies come in, I haven't seen any evidence that actually shows it. Whereas the government doesn't have to just show evidence; they are the authority on it.
Tom, that's a very bad analogy. It's not accurate because you're the only person that can see if you're peeing or not. But there's multiple organizations that come in and look at the border security records, for example, to see how many people are going
yes,
crossing.
And but that's wait, hold on, wait. That's not a bad analogy. Hold on, stop. You are not understanding. You are somehow missing my entire fucking argument. I just said that if they want to disagree, they can show the evidence. When you're saying, hey, there's other outside NGOs who are able to show what the government numbers actually say, and they're able to show their evidence, then that's evidence. That's what I said. I said they can show their fucking evidence.
In your example, I can't show evidence because I can't show proof that you went to pee 10 times in one day. I can't.
Hold on.
In your evidence, in your example.
You could be my fucking roommate, and you could have checked every single time. You could have been marking it down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right. I could have an independent camera sitting on one of the corners in the house, located and pointing at the actual laboratory. You're right. Yeah, let's say that's actually something. So you wouldn't disagree with me. You wouldn't disagree with me then that it's actually necessary for a second person to be there to actually be able to reassess if this is actually truth or not. We need to look at multiple reporting.
But you're saying there has to be multiple organizations. There are multiple.
If I look at different reports, you would call me a peddler of misinformation. Hold on. That's the whole argument.
Hold on. I'm saying you're wrong. I'm saying you just made that shit up. So I'm saying that there are already multiple organizations within the government that all keep track of this information and that are checking on each other. But there could also be other outside non-governmental institutions that can do this as well. But again, they have to show how they got there. That's what I said over and over and over. You keep jumping to the conclusion that I just don't believe anybody except for the government. And I've said over and over and over that that's not true. That's not the case. That if they can show their work and show their evidence, that is a good reason to question the government's numbers. That's what I've said over and over. But you keep ignoring that and assuming that I'm just going to disbelieve anything that's not the government.
So let's say then that I proved that these people that you were calling Republican misinformation peddlers actually did that exact thing. They were looking at independent sources. They were looking at governmental organizations, but they recognized, wow, there's been so many errors in reporting. Seems like they're creating new analytics compositions or statistical processes to come up with these numbers that are kind of brand new because they're coming up with insane amounts of margins of error. And you're like, wow, let me look at another independent source that has a different angle. That's the whole argument. That's why we're here, Tomfoolery. Did you forget that you were calling us misinformation peddlers because we didn't agree with you that the numbers of the Bureau of Labor Statistics said that it was 800,000 more jobs than it was? And when we called that out, basically that's the same thing. When I call out that there's 10 million immigration, you're like, no, it's only 4, it's only 5. And I'm like, okay, relax. But the reportings I'm looking at are like, there's many less, so or many more. So, like, I'm not a peddler of misinformation. I'm just looking at the bigger picture. I'm looking at it more objectively than you, let's say.
Okay, you're just, and okay. Engage with what I'm saying, please. Don't go on another ramble about like how you feel oppressed by me, okay? Just actually engage with what I'm saying. When I say that they have to show evidence for how they came to that conclusion, what do you disagree with there? Please tell me, what do you disagree with when I say that?
So
part of that?
Okay, I'll disagree with you that the first time they said the 10 million number didn't come with evidence. That's what I would disagree. That they would never say these numbers without the evidence attached to it in the first place.
Okay.
Like, for example, when Trump says eating the dogs, he would never say that unless he's had seen a report saying somebody was eating the dogs. Do you understand? This is what the whole, that's what I'm debating here.
Okay. So I don't know what you're referencing when you keep saying you called them misinformation peddlers on immigration. I had maybe 10 to 15 different debates on this, and every single one of them, I asked them, where did you get those numbers from? 0 sent me anything. Not a single person sent me anything. One chatter sent me something one time, but what they sent me was how many people have been seen at the border. They did not send me how many of them were illegal immigrants and how many of them were let into the country. Whereas like how many get detained, how many get taken back and deported and returned and all that, those are totally different numbers than how many illegal immigrants were let into the country. So if you want to... Yes.
Tomfoolery, in the, because it's the holiday season, for let's get to this point. So if I can actually provide you reports and evidence that my numbers disagree with yours, I'm not a misinformation peddler. You agree with that?
Yes, of course. If you're right, of course it's not misinformation. Yes. You say you've watched a lot of my content, so you would know that.
That's what's happening.
Hold on. Stop. So if you say you watch my content, you would know that when I bring these people on, I ask them for evidence, I ask them for numbers, and if they provide things, regardless of what the debate is, immigration or whatever else, we pull it up and we will spend sometimes fucking 30, 45 minutes just reading reports and going over data. Like it's boring as fuck for the people watching, but I don't care. I'm actually looking for the actual information. I'm looking to see what is actually true, and so we go and we check it.
I really like that, but there's something I didn't like about that Destiny interview, because you really didn't check anything between him. It was almost like I didn't want to interrupt you guys. I wanted to leave you guys in the room alone because there's some kind of connection there. I didn't want to be there. But I have so many questions to ask you, Tom. Before you kick me out, I just want to know, what do you believe is the future of the Democratic Party going to look like? Tulsi left, RFK Jr. left. Looks like all the populists have ran into the Republican administration. Even the Republican Party has completely shifted form and changed into a populist party. The administration seems, I know you might disagree, and I would love to have, if you have time, I would love to see if you actually like the administration or not. But my question is, what do you think the future of the Democratic Party is looking like? How are they ever going to be able to capture these votes again? What are they supposed to do? Because I heard you talked about this to Destiny, and I was a little bit petrified with you guys talking about media control. And I'm surprised that there wasn't. Are you guys arguing that there wasn't enough media control? Like, how? What? Like, so I want to know what is the movement forward after you had that discussion with Destiny. Your own analysis. What do you think the move forward for the Democratic Party is going to look like?
So I'm happy to. I just wrote all that down, so I'm happy to answer that. But I do want to check first. You were just asking a hypothetical about if somebody happened to be right about immigration, if I would still call them wrong. Is that it? You were. I thought you were about to send me something, and we were going to go over data. But you're saying, hey, if somebody was right, you wouldn't say that they're wrong, right? That's all that was. It was just a hypothetical on if there actually were more immigrants.
Like, okay, if you want, I'll bring you the 10 million report. I'll show you the report that I was reading. But yeah, basically what I was telling you is, even though the Bureau of Labor, and I use a specific example, even if the Bureau of Labor Statistics says there's 1 million more jobs, and I show you a report that there's not 1 million more jobs, then that should be enough, as long as it's enough, as long as it's actually a good source. That mean you can agree that this is a good source. You know, like basically, yeah, you should agree to me that this is good information.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, of
good.
course.
Yeah, so we agreed there. Yeah, but I thought you were a complete, like, oh, it doesn't matter. This 10 million report doesn't exist. I didn't read it because CNN never presented it to me, because it does exist, and I'll provide it to you. But I know your time is very limited, and I had so many questions, because this is the real reason I came here to talk to you about.
I'm saying that I've had this debate
about media control.
Yeah,
and I really
I'm
want to
gonna.
understand what that meant.
Yeah, I'm gonna answer that question. I just want to say that, like, yes, I've had this debate 1,000 times over the immigration, how many illegals, blah blah blah, and as I said, not a single person ever sent me anything. The only thing I ever got sent was how many people were encountered at the border, and that's the number that they were using to say that's how many illegals they brought into the country. Whereas you would assume by far the majority of those people are getting deported back, and that they're not let in. And so it wasn't an accurate number. And so I'm saying that, yes, I've looked for the numbers. I've looked for the I've looked for something.
I'm gonna send this right now in the chat. This is the Homeland Security.
But I was gonna say, Trump said 20 million. You're saying 10 million. Andrew Wilson said 5 million. Other people that have come on have put up a bunch of different numbers in different places. And so everybody is seeing very different information from what I've seen.
Okay, because exactly, because you guys look at the first report, you see the smallest number, kind of like what happened with Israel. They saw the biggest number, 1,600. They kept pushing those reports, even though the number of deaths, casualties kept going down. Of the November.
Well, I looked at the commission audit on the border by Republicans.
So I sent you this. There's a startling stats fact sheet. Biden administration on track to reach 10 million encounters nationwide before end of fiscal year. So this is obviously so there's and this is May 22,
Where did you
2024. Send it? So I just sent it in your chat. ManarReports is my name.
In what chat?
In the YouTube chat.
Oh, you can't post links in YouTube chat. Yeah, sorry. YouTube doesn't allow, like, it's Twitch allows links. Unfortunately, YouTube doesn't. So kind of sucks.
I sent it to you. It says here, startling stats fact sheet. Biden administration on track to reach 10 million encounters nationwide before end of fiscal year. And this is brand new May 22, 2024 report. Do you understand why this is so important? Because it doesn't go on the .gov websites until too late, until Biden left office. Then we realize, wow, by the end of the year, he's gotten 10 million new potential illegals that are potentially.
Okay, so real quick, I just told you that I didn't see anything that said that's how many illegals came into the country. The only thing anyone ever sent me was the amount of encounters, but encounters are not illegals let into the country. And now you're sending me a thing that says 10 million encounters after I just said 3 times that encounters are not illegals let into the country. I just said that like 10 times. And whoa, just real quick. I would find it odd that you didn't You didn't make some sort of argument against that. In the 3 different times that I said those are not illegals, you didn't argue against that a single time. But now you've sent me something that says it's encounters, and now you want to argue that. That seems a little odd to me.
Okay, let me give you an example. According to this report, one of the most revealing statistics revealed by CBP was that encounters at southwest border ports of entry in April 2024 grew nearly 100% to April compared to April 2021. So you cannot tell me 100% increased encounters at that border does not equate, especially with what we've seen now with how many holes there are in the southern border and the border patrols coming out, whistleblowing, talking about the horrible administration of that they do to these people. You cannot tell me that these extra encounters by 100% do not equate to more people walking in. So if 100% increase of people coming in and being encountered, and look, it finishes here. This is evident through the number of appointments scheduled through the CBP One Mass Parole Scheme, which skyrocketed to more than 591,000 since January 2023. And then it starts giving out more numbers. So it's clear that the Biden administration has used unlawful mass parole programs to hundreds of thousands. Look, understand.
Wait, hold on. But you're moving. Hold on. Wait, you're moving.
No. Let me look. I'll show you the reports, but I'm just teaching you how to read the reports.
Wait. No, you're not. No, you're not. Hold on. You're not teaching me anything. Hold on. You're moving to a different argument now. I need to address the first 3 that you made. The saying that their numbers are up means that we can assume that the illegal immigrants that have been into the country have gone up. I can agree with that. But whether or not I agree that it's 10 million is totally different. 1.7 million illegals is up. That's up a lot. That is up almost 100%. So 1.7 is up almost 100%. So I can still agree with that without it ever coming anywhere fucking close to 10 million.
What does it mean to have 100% increased encounters with evidence showing that there's more appointments scheduled for the CBP to allow more people to come in under a certain mass parole program? So if there's an increase in encounters, an increase in acceptance in these mass parole programs to allow people into the country, what do you believe could happen from that? Do you believe that there could be an exasperation of number of people coming into the country that potentially could be illegal?
Yes, that's what I just said. I literally just said yes. I just said yes. No, you can't keep saying this is how you read the report.
How are you saying I'm not arguing? I'm not actually debating you. How are you
hold on. Tell me what I just argued a second ago. Tell me what I said. What did I say? Repeat it back to me, please.
You're saying that the statistic for the specific encounters or the actual illegal immigrants that you're looking for is not in this report. That's all you were arguing.
No. That is not what I said. I said, so let me repeat this, okay? I'm going to ask you to repeat it to me again. I said that 1.7 million illegals coming into the country is a 100% increase. So where you're saying, when we look at 10 million encounters and we say that we can assume when there's a 100% increase that there's probably also an increase in illegal immigration, I said, well, the numbers that I have are a 100% increase in illegal immigration. So I'm saying that my number does reflect that there is a huge increase in illegal immigration, but that's still not 10 million, which is your claim. You have not backed off that claim yet. You have not said yet that it's not 10 million. You haven't said that once. You are still trying to justify 10 million, but also arguing that, well, it's not 10 million. It just shows that there's more, but we don't know what that number is. And I'm saying that number is 1.7 million. That's the number that I'm using. That is the increase.
Okay. Look at this. Listen to me. Another report. It says here, there aren't 20 million to 30 million immigrants in the USA illegally. Different immigration groups using different methodology estimate the population here illegally ranges between 10.9 million to 16.8 million. This is another report. I'm going to send it to you. I don't understand this. You actually believe I'm coming up with these figures by myself?
Hold on, stop.
I don't like to know that there's 10 million illegals. I'm reading the report.
Hold on. I got to mute you if you can't stop when I'm telling you to stop, okay? You are not arguing against me, okay? I have to keep telling you. You are not arguing against me.
Okay,
hold on. It doesn't matter. That you're telling me how many are in the country. That doesn't mean they came over the border under Biden. That's not relevant to what we're talking about. It's totally irrelevant. So is encounters. Encounters are totally irrelevant. I don't know what. Can you please hold on for 1 second, please? Just stay for 1 second. We are talking about 10 million encounters right here. Can you please admit that encounters are not illegal immigrants in the country? Can you please say that? Yes, I do not think that all 10 million encounters are illegal immigrants in the country. Can you say this?
Of course, yes, of course, 100%.
Okay.
You're right.
Okay. But that was your claim, yes?
No. My claim is that if encounters increase, if there's more mass parole programs coming in, then it's logical to say that there's an increase in the number of illegals coming in. Then I look at other reports saying that their illegals are between 10 to 20, and then I come up with the conclusion that there's if Trump had one of the most mass deportations, and maybe under him he had up to 1 million, now exasperated to 10 to 20 million, so I can come up with maybe potentially underneath Biden 10 million came in. That's how I'm coming up with these results.
Okay, so what we would want to know, right, when you're saying yes, there's an increase in encounters, we would have to know, is there also an increase in deportations and returns and things like that? And there was an increase. Biden literally set a record in taking people back to their fucking countries. He didn't set a record. Sorry. Let me correct that. He didn't set a record. Wait, hold on. Shut up. He did not set a record. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. He got more than Trump. He didn't set a record.
My understanding is
Obama still has the record.
My understanding, the policy of release to Mexico before was removed under the Biden
Remain
administration.
in Mexico.
Or remain in Mexico was removed
in
the Biden administration. So how can you claim that?
That's a totally different topic, though.
No, but that's the reason. That's the reason that they stayed into the country, because Trump was made sure that they don't stay in the country while they're waiting for their processes. Instead, Biden removed that and added the mass parole program so that they can enter more people into the country and give them enough
totally
time.
Different. That's a totally different topic, though. You can be correct. We could even agree on it, but it's not. It's just not relevant to this topic. Whether or not they allowed people to come in, those things take 4 to 5 years, so that can't apply to this.
You said the deportation increased as well, but how can the deportation as well increase if one of the most biggest policies for deportation, which is
that wasn't one of the biggest policies. It only affected like a couple 100,000 immigrants under Trump. It was not a big difference. It was barely affected
my understanding
anybody.
It was a calamity. It was a calamity when Trump instituted it. Now you're telling me it wasn't effective at all?
No, it was against the law, but it wasn't. It didn't actually affect a lot of people. But it is, yes, it did. They did have a bunch of people who had to remain in Mexico, and tons of those people went missing while they were supposed to remain there, which is the entire idea of getting them out of their country and them claiming asylum. But that's totally separate from whether or not illegal immigrants came into the country.
Break the law?
It doesn't. I'm not allowing you to pivot to this. I'm sorry. It's a totally different conversation from illegal immigration. It's just not relevant.
Anyways, sure, yeah, no, but I showed you the second report. The second report says there's about up to 20 million potentially illegals. Under Trump, it was the most amount of deportations since Barack Obama. So my estimate was that
since Barack Obama, he's the only president since Barack Obama. Like, he was the only president since Barack Obama. So, no matter, he could have deported one person, and it would have been the most since Barack Obama. Like, that doesn't mean anything.
Okay, but his estimate, like his numbers went down. His actual estimation of illegals went down because it was a calamity. I remember everyone was up in arms, like he's removing the right of. There was a talk about how he's going to remove the path to nationalization and naturalization and citizenship. You guys remember? Now you guys forgot about that, huh? But anyways, so now you're saying all of these were ineffective programs.
None of this is relevant.
No, because this is relevant. Because remember when you guys were talking about how it's the biggest calamity in the whole world that Trump is going to be elected. Now all of his policies were ineffective. They were useless. They didn't really create a lot of change.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said. I don't know why you have to keep strawmanning me. You can't engage with what I'm saying.
He created a lot of deportations, and then you said, no, that doesn't mean that that's a big number or anything. But I'm telling you, listen, he deported more people than and
why did you just do that? Why did you Why did you just do that? Where remain in Mexico means that they never come into the country until they are approved for asylum. That has nothing to do
No,
with
but
illegal
even if they
immigration.
cross the country, no, even if they cross the country and they were asking for asylum, they're shoved back in. That's what happens. Even if they cross the country for asylum,
sure.
they're
And
shoved
how
back
many
in.
people? Yes, and how many people were made to remain in Mexico? How many?
So what's your argument right now? So is the argument that there isn't 10 million illegal immigrants, or is the argument that 10 million illegal immigrants did not come underneath the Biden administration? Is this the
why did you just pivot again? Are we talking
because
about remain in Mexico? Are we talking? No, hold on, stop. I'm trying to figure out what we're debating. You keep talking about remain in Mexico. That has nothing to do with how many illegal immigrants are in the country. You keep pivoting back and forth between these two things. Neither one of those are related to one another. They have nothing to do with each other.
Deportation increased. I mentioned that encounters at the border increased and mass paroles increased, bringing them in increased. And I also mentioned that remain in Mexico policy was removed. You mentioned the encounters increased, yes, but then also the deportation increased. Then I rebutted and said, well, even if the deportation increased, well, now that they removed the actual remain in Mexico policy, you're still going to see an exasperation in number of illegal immigrants coming in.
Okay,
that's why I created that argument. Are you not with me? Like,
no, I'm not. So when you talk about remain in Mexico, that has nothing to do with illegal immigrants. So we need to pick one either. And I don't want to talk about remain in Mexico. It's just not relevant to illegal immigration. If you say, hey, Tom, there's estimates say 10.9 to 16.8 illegal immigrants live in the country, I'll say, I agree 100%. That's probably true. Yes, I agree with that. And that's what I say as well.
Do you agree that the Biden administration
we agree on that
problem? Do you agree that the Trump administration helped stop that problem and Biden administration increased and exasperated that problem? Do you agree there?
No. But I do agree that the problem was exasperated under the Biden administration, but I don't believe that Biden did it. You said, do I believe Biden's administration did it? No. Do I believe it was exasperated under the Biden administration? Yes, but that was because of COVID.
No, you can't run away with the COVID because Trump had COVID as well and he didn't have these numbers. So here's the argument.
Wait,
hold on. I'm going to line it up because you're a misinformationer. Now you're running to COVID.
Hold on. No, hold on. Don't. Wait, hold on. You got to calm down, bro. You gotta chill, okay? I don't give a fuck about beating you. You have the W, you win, okay? I don't care. All right? So I'm just trying to get you to like stay on a fucking topic. When you say that the Trump didn't have this problem when he had COVID. Trump installed Title 42, which literally shut down the entire border. When nobody in or out because of COVID. That's what literally every fucking country in the entire world did. Nobody in or out when he had COVID. So of course, yes, he didn't have any issues with fucking immigration. The whole fucking thing is shut down because of COVID. But he had an expiration date on his Title 42, which was in March. When that expired, everybody blamed Biden for Title 42 being gone. Biden didn't get rid of it. It expired under what Trump wrote. The Title 42 went away. The border opens back up. And now a year and a half of people who have been waiting to come into the country are now a year and a half worth of fucking people all coming at once. Then Trump also gave an exemption for people who were in the country who were immigrants. He allowed them to go home. They were the only ones who were allowed in and out of the border, was just the ones who were here who wanted to go home. He allowed them to leave, and that was a good thing. I like that he did that. That was a great decision. But those people were now also coming back once the border was back open and businesses were running again. Our country was the first to recover from inflation. So all other countries are dealing with massive economic strife. Our country had one of the smallest problems with inflation. So everybody wanted to come here. So yes, because of COVID caused the inflation. COVID caused the amount of people coming over. But that the Biden administration was doing everything they could to deal with it.
But my understanding is Title 42 happened during COVID. And it was literally using COVID as the reason why they were allowed to push these people away.
That's what I said.
So they used COVID. Yeah. So okay. But you're saying because of COVID, they increased it, the immigration exasperated. But
when Title 42 was gone,
let me finish.
Title 42 was
hey,
gone.
Tom, relax. Tom, let me give you. You don't know what you're arguing against. This is your problem. You won't let me explain what I'm
You
trying to
just said
explain.
what I said, and I said I didn't say that. It was when it was gone. When Title 42 ended is when that many people came over.
You're saying
Not
when
during
Title 42 ended.
Yeah.
Okay, when Title 42 ended, you're saying that we couldn't have at all created anything to. Is that what your argument is? That there was no other policy
No.
that could be in place as a placeholder
No.
for Title 42?
No.
Why not?
No, I'm not arguing that.
Okay, then that's it. That means the Biden administration could have put a placeholder position for the Trump policy that was very successful. That was Title
Wait,
42, which
hold on.
during COVID
What
stopped
does
a
that
lot of
mean?
illegal immigration. Then
I
instead,
don't
what
know
he
what that
did,
means.
the second he
I have
go
no
ahead,
fucking idea.
I'll let you speak, man, because I'm not allowed to speak.
I don't know what that means. What does that mean? They should have had a placeholder for Title 42. It was for COVID.
So
COVID was over.
you're trying to use COVID-19 as an argument to why the Trump administration, the Biden administration is so shit at what they do. So I'm
No, it's
giving
not.
you a
No, I
rebuttal
didn't.
here.
No, I
My rebuttal
didn't.
here is
That's
that
not what I said.
COVID-19. Then why did you mention COVID-19 Title 42?
What I said was that that COVID-19 was the reason that so many people came at once. I said that there were way more people coming over the border because of COVID-19 and our ability to reduce inflation. Trump didn't have a high amount of immigrants coming over the border during his administration. Obama was one of the most stringent people on immigration. He fucking flexed that border so hardcore that by the time Trump got in office, he didn't really have to do anything. He just wanted to build the wall, which is fine. He promised he was going to build the wall. That's fine. Build the wall. But outside of that, he didn't have a large amount of immigrants coming in for any reason. But Biden did because he took over after COVID. His administration was dealing with the after effects of COVID. And so he had an influx of immigrants coming into the country. You're blaming Biden for why so many immigrants came to the country. I'm saying Biden didn't do that outside of the fact that he was just so damn good at fixing inflation. It wasn't his fault outside of that.
Okay, I'll respond to this, Tom. The response here is if Trump had COVID and Trump had the exasperation of COVID underneath his administration. So Biden inherited COVID, so he had time to reflect, hindsight, and look at all the research and studies. Instead, Trump had to deal with this hands-on as his first term, and you're telling me he was more successful at dealing with a new calamity, one of the most biggest pandemics, than the administration that came after. And your only argument for that is
that's not what I'm saying. No.
That's not what I'm saying. What are you saying then? Why? How can you use COVID-19 as an argument for Biden being bad, Biden administration being bad at stopping and hindering immigration?
I literally just finished saying. I literally just said. Okay,
I can't. I'm sorry. Hindered all illegal immigration.
I'm sorry, dude. I literally, the last two times I spoke, I said, this is not me making excuse for why the Biden administration was bad at immigration. The last two arguments that I made is me re-explaining that I am not saying this is why the Biden administration was bad at immigration. Yet you keep repeating that as though that's what I said. You keep saying, you said this is why they were bad at immigration. No, I didn't say that. I never said that.
You mentioned Biden inherited the exasperation of the border policies because of a crisis, which is COVID-19. But what I'm looking at, what he inherited is a great border, and all he did was he decided to get rid of Title 42, or he let it pass by him.
Yes, it expired.
And then he just didn't actually give any care. Or maybe Kamala Harris was supposed to be the border czar. She didn't give any care to the border. So what's the argument? The border. COVID-19. You can't say that COVID-19 exasperated illegal immigration because Trump had COVID-19 and it didn't exasperate illegal immigration.
Oh my goodness, bro. Okay. We're gonna do this step by step.
Okay? What I'm telling you.
Yes,
you keep saying
no. We're gonna do this step by step. Okay. Title 42 stopped anybody from coming in or out. Can you repeat that back to me? Title 42 stopped anyone from coming.
Stopped anyone from coming because of COVID-19 to the U.S.
Yes. Okay.
Forced them to make applications online.
Yeah. So when you say Trump didn't have this issue with COVID-19, I'm saying while Title 42 was in place for COVID-19, Biden didn't have this issue either. Trump put Title 42 in place.
Well, okay.
And so he puts it in place for COVID, right? when COVID is over, every country, every country in the world had similar policies to Title 42. We all did the same shit. We all completely shut down our borders, and we said nobody in or out. That's it. We're shutting it down. Every fucking country in the whole world did this. Okay, so it wasn't specific to Trump. Trump didn't. He wasn't the special mastermind that came up with this. Trump did the same thing as the whole world. Okay, then it expired. Why did it expire? Because COVID-19 was over. We were not in an emergency scenario anymore. We didn't have to stop people from coming in or out because we're terrified of a deadly virus coming in. We were 99% vaxxed by the time this expired. So we didn't have to worry about that. It wasn't a problem. So when you say, well, Biden could have put in another placeholder for Title 42. Well, he didn't need to. There wasn't another COVID. Trump could do it. He didn't do it before COVID. He didn't do it before COVID. He did it when COVID happened. That's when he did it. It was only there for COVID. That's it. That's all it existed for. COVID's over. Title 42 is gone. We don't need a placeholder for it. COVID's gone. Okay? We got this?
Okay, cool. Okay, sure. So
okay.
Now we understand why Trump's border was a little bit more, there was less illegals crossing, is because Title 42 was allowed in an emergency, I guess, federal status, and then it expired. The emergency status expired. So your argument is everything went back to normal. So
Biden then I'm saying after that, there was an influx of immigrants coming over. Okay, the influx of immigrants is due to what happens after Title 42 expires. After COVID is gone, and after inflation is fixed. Yes. So these are not things, Trump didn't have those scenarios. So like when we talk about like Trump handed over the worst fucking economy in the world to Biden, but that wasn't Trump's fault. That was COVID's fault. Nobody blames Trump for that. Nobody turns around and says, wow, Trump was so shit at the fucking economy that he handed over one of the worst downslopes in the world to Biden. Nobody does that to him because we take into consideration context for what it is he's dealing with when he leaves. But you're not doing that. You're removing all context and then just saying, well, look, Trump had less illegal immigration. Biden had more. So Biden sucks. That's just totally unfair. If we're going to do that, then yes, Trump fucking sucks at the fucking, at the economy. He fucking fucked up the whole economy then.
But that's why I mentioned Remain in Mexico. There's more policies than just Title 42.
Yeah, there were, but those didn't stop illegal immigration. I'm saying that Trump never had an influx of illegal immigration during his whole administration. He had one of the lowest levels of immigration because during Obama's administration, you can watch it drop down, 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 down. After Bush dealt with it pretty stringently, Obama dealt with it pretty stringently, and both of them, you can watch it go down, 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 and then once it gets to Trump, it just kind of stays along the path that it was already on. He didn't have to do anything because it was already dealt with by Bush, and I'm not giving all the credit to a Democrat. It was Bush and it was Obama who put into place all of the immigration policies that really locked down our border and really like set up a stricter border that made immigration go down.
So do you understand that there was actually lawsuits against Joe Biden administration trying to block him from stopping Title 42? According to what I'm reading here, in May 22, 2022, District Judge Robert R. Summerhays, an appointee of former President Donald Trump, temporarily blocked the Biden administration from winding down the use of Title 42. Then another federal judge, Judge Emmett Sullivan in the U.S. District Court in Washington, D.C., handed down an opposite ruling in November 2022 and blocked the federal government from continuing to use Title 42. So there was actual lawsuit from Arizona, Texas, and it says here 21 other states. 21 other states, actually, not only Florida and Texas, but 21 other states tried to hinder the Biden administration from shutting down Title 42. And they were very successful until November 2022, where they were finally, I guess the lawsuits of the Biden administration worked, and they were able to force the government to stop Title 42. So the idea that Title 42 was just going to randomly expire and that the Biden administration didn't have any effect upon it.
No, it was. It had an expiration date in March. When you use, okay, so this is just in general, is that when we have what our government calls like emergency scenarios, right? You're able to claim a state of emergency or a national emergency, and now you're able to do things that are a bit more strict. So things that we would generally call authoritarian, our laws allow government officials to do those things in what we would consider to be national emergencies or states of emergency. So when you do that though, you under the law, you have to put an expiration date on it. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm putting in place this authoritarian measure that will go on for the rest of eternity," right? So like when Democrats or in Republican states all locked down everybody and said you have to stay in your houses. This was the thing that they were allowed to do under states of emergency, but they had to put expiration dates on them every single time because there has to be an expiration on how long you can do that, right? So it did have an expiration on it.
Yeah, there was an
expired in
expiration,
March.
but the argument was that if you open Title 42, according to the 21 states, and there are a couple of states that filed their actual lawsuits separately. But basically, the argument was that if you open Title 42 right now and you force the government to open the border, you're going to create a national health crisis. So that's actually the argument that the states argued for the federal government to keep holding on to Title 42. And until Judge Emmett Sullivan, who's a Democratic appointee judge appointed by President Bill Clinton, halted that actual procedure and called it, arguing the policy hasn't been updated to align with the present state of the pandemic, which includes widely available vaccines, treatments, and an increase in travel. So his only citation here is why he should open and allow Title 42 to go through is because there's a new vaccine and that's enough. But they argued that that's not enough. You're going to create an exasperation. You're going to create a problem. You need to hold off on that. And this judge disagreed, this Democratic appointed judge. So the argument is you're trying to wash the hands away from the Democrats, acting like the Democrats did not have anything to do with Title 42 being removed, and acting like the Democrats didn't have anything to do with the exasperation of the problem and the expiration of Title 42. Turns out this is actually misinformation.
Wait, hold on. You just read that judge said that Title 42 did not keep up with the current state of vaccines and where we were with the virus. And
Yeah,
the judge ruled that they did have
the Democratic judge shut down Title 42. Yes.
Hold on.
And
Don't
before
play
him,
this game.
the Republican one.
Don't play that fucking game. I'm not doing that.
You're
I'm not
acting
saying
like the Democrats
depending
didn't shut
on.
it.
Hold on. I'm not saying that like depending on whether it's a Republican or a Democrat, it was good or bad. I'm not doing these things. So I don't want to play your fucking partisan game. I don't give a fuck about it. Okay.
No, you want to wash Biden's hands completely.
Hold on. Okay, so tell me, was the when Title 42 was initially written, when the pandemic initially happened, were we in the same state of emergency? Did we have as many cases? Did we have the same small amount of vaccinated? Did we have the same amount of people dying at the point that the judge said that, as we did when Trump wrote it? No, we didn't. Okay, so it has nothing to do with him being Democrat. He is objectively correct, and you agree with him, is that it does not account for the state that we are currently in at that point. You agree with it. So I don't know why you're arguing with this. You agree that it does not account for the state that we are currently in at that point.
Hey, Tom. Tom, I agree with you that Title 42 shut down and stopped exasperation of illegal immigrants. That's what I agreed with you on. I agreed with you that the Biden administration shut it down. You made it seem like it expired with no ability for anyone to try to renew it. Turns out there was an actual conglomeration work forced by Democratic appointee judges, even against many states filing lawsuits still, even though some states were very successful and actually Title 42 was halted, and this is all from the conservative side, and Title 42 was allowed to withstand. Then a Democratic appointee judge shows up after years of trying to fight these lawsuits and declares that, oh, now there's a vaccine, so let's exasperate the border crisis, even though 21 states are saying there's going to be exasperation of a health crisis, exasperation of illegal immigrants coming in. Let's decline this. You made it seem like there was no power for the Biden administration to do any pressure, even though on a Democratic appointee judge.
No, I didn't say that. Hold on. I didn't say that. I said that if you sign anything, any sort of, I went into a full explanation of it by saying that if you sign something that is, if you sign something that is like an extreme measure for a state of emergency, it has to have an expiration date on it, and this expired. That's what I said. Yes, these people wanted, I think that it looks like they may have even extended it for a little bit longer, just with some amendments to it, and then eventually let it expire altogether. So it looks like they did just expand it for a while, and then eventually that.
But anyways, the whole argument is that the conservative side was the one that was helping hold down. So basically, all I've done here, and I'm going to send you this article, and I'm going to send it on YouTube as well, so everybody can see. All I've done here is that I've proven that Title 42 did not randomly expire. It actually was forced to be halted against the will of the 21 states. 21 states citing 21 lawsuits from 21 different states, and the Democratic appointee judge appointed by Bill Clinton is the one that shut down the actual Title 42 application on the U.S. border. So the idea that the Democrats did not exasperate the illegal immigration issue is. Can you argue against that? Can you actually argue against that? Can you argue that the Democratic appointee judge is not biased? Can you do something like that? Like, because you keep acting like the Democrats did not.
You said that you agreed with him. You already said you agreed with him, so you already agree that he wasn't biased.
On what?
On the fact that that Title 42 did not account for our current state of COVID and where we were with vaccines and where we were with the infections.
I can't agree with him because I couldn't agree with him because there's 21 states saying no, you're wrong, and another judge actually said withheld Title 42 to stay going because according to the laws that were brought up by the different states.
Okay, but you already agreed that we had a difference in those things. So are you taking that back now? You think that COVID was the same at the beginning as it was at that point when the judge said it. You're saying that now? You're changing your answer now to say that those are the same?
No. The whole point of this doesn't matter. You're right. The judge, there was a big difference, but the whole reason I'm bringing this up, Tom, and don't obfuscate the conversation because we were talking about Title 42.
You just asked me if he was biased. Okay, you just said I had to admit that he was biased. That was the point.
Yes.
You just asked me if he was biased. I'm saying you already admitted he's not biased and that you agree with his point. So you can't I have to admit he's biased. I have to
say he was because there was 21 different states. I'm looking at the facts. I'm not looking at my own opinion. 21 different states tried to shut him down. They tried to file lawsuits. They knew that it was going to expire. They started filing lawsuits. They became successful in these lawsuits until a Democratic appointed judge shut them down. So the idea that the Democrats are not at all, and Biden could not pressure that Democratic appointee judge or at all have any sentiment that they could be blamed for the expiration of Title 42 when the conservatives tried their best to hold on to it and the liberals are the ones that surrendered it, is misinformation. That's the whole reason I brought this whole topic up, because you mentioned that Title 42 seemed to have just expired out of thin air and then it exasperated the illegal immigration. Turns out there was actual warnings. If you allow this to expire, it's going to exasperate the actual illegal immigration, and actually a national health crisis could be happening from that. And instead, they still... Democratic appointee judge still refused and allowed it to expire after a conservative judge held it off. So I'm telling you, the conservatives showed prowess that they wanted to help in this border crisis, whereas the Democrats were actually exasperating the issue. That's why I brought up this whole article.
Okay, I don't know why you're pivoting. So your question to me was, you said, Tom, you have to admit. stay here. Don't go back to why we brought up the whole topic. I want to get back to that, but I would like you to please engage with the topic before rambling for another 3 or 4 minutes that doesn't address what it is that I'm saying. So you said, Tom, you have to admit that this judge is biased. And I said, I don't have to admit that because you already agreed that he's not biased and that you agree that Title 42 does not actually account for our state of affairs in that moment. That is all that matters. How many states sued doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter at all. What matters is when the judge made his decision, do you agree with that decision? You're saying, yes, I agree with that decision, but
No, I
21 states have sued him.
When did I say yes, I do? When did I say yes, I do?
I asked you.
I don't remember saying yes,
okay,
I do agree with him.
I will repeat it to you, and if you'd like me to, I can pull it back up and play it for you. You said, this judge said that he was going to allow it to expire because the current Title 42 did not account for our current state of COVID, that with vaccines and infections and everything. You said that.
Yeah, and then I said that there was lawsuits from different states saying no.
Hold on. That's irrelevant. Stop bringing that up. So then you said that was his reasoning, and I said yes. And do you agree with that? And you said
no.
Yes.
No, I don't. No, I don't know. I would never agree with that because
I will play it back for you. Then.
Other states
I will play it back for you.
Even with the vaccine, it's not enough. You're going to create a health crisis if you open the border. 21 different states tried to file that lawsuit.
Okay, I'm going to pull it up and I'm going to play
it back for you. I don't agree with him.
Okay, I'm going to pull it up and I'm going to play it back for you because there seems to be some confusion here. Because normally, if you update your position,
we need to play this back. I need to hear this.
Yeah, normally if you would update your position, I'm okay with that. Like I'm okay with somebody changing their position.
No, play it back.
You're denying whether or not this was ever your position.
Play it back. This is not a gotcha, by the way. You play it back. This is not a gotcha. This is a escape.
It's not a gotcha. It's not a gotcha. I guess
you're losing and you're running.
Trying to get. It's as I just said. It's not a gotcha. I am saying that you made the statement, and if you're willing to update a statement, I'm happy to accept that. But if you're just denying you made the statement at all, then I have to play it for you so that we can figure out what
the Democratic
shut the fuck up. Shut up. I'm trying to play it so we can figure out why there is this difference here. So I can figure out what the confusion is. That's what I said. It's not a gotcha. It is literally to try to figure out where the confusion is. So I have a screen share pulled up for you in the Discord if you have it up, and I'll find it real quick. Do you see the screen?
Yeah, give me 1 minute.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in here.
Okay.
Yeah, there was an expiration, but the argument was that there are a couple of states that followed their actual law. Actually, the argument that the states argued for the federal government to keep holding on to Title 42, and until Judge Emmett Sullivan, who's a Democratic appointee judge appointed by President Bill Clinton, halted that actual procedure and called it, arguing the policy hasn't been updated to align with the present state of the pandemic, which includes widely available vaccines, treatments, and an increase in travel. So his only citation here is why he should open and allow Title 42 to go through is because there's a new vaccine and that's enough. But they argued that that's not enough.
So right there, you just made the statement of what the judge said.
You're going to create an exasperation. You're going to create a problem. You need to hold off on that. And this judge disagreed, this Democratic appointed judge. So the argument is you're trying to wash the hands away from the Democrats, acting like the Democrats did not have anything to do with Title 42 being removed, and acting like the Democrats didn't have anything to do with the exasperation of the problem and the expiration of Title 42. Turns out this is actually misinformation.
Wait, hold on. You just read that judge said that Title 42 did not keep up with the current state of vaccines and where we were with the virus. And that the judge ruled that they did have...
The Democratic judge shut down Title 42. Yes.
Hold on.
And before him, the Republican one...
Don't play that fucking game. I'm not doing that.
I'm not saying like the Democrats
hold on. I'm not saying that like depending on whether it's a Republican or a Democrat, it was good or bad. I'm not doing these things. So I don't want to play your fucking partisan game. I don't give a fuck about it, okay?
No, you want to watch Biden's hands completely.
Hold on. Okay, so tell me, was the when Title 42 was initially written, when the pandemic initially happened, were we in the same state of emergency, did we have as many cases? Did we have the same small amount of vaccinated? Did we have the same amount of people dying at the point that the judge said that, as we did when Trump wrote it? No, we didn't. Okay, so it's not. It has nothing. There you go.
Yeah, I see. I remember. I said no.
Okay. So yeah. So why? So why did you say that then, but you're denying it now? What is the difference here?
No, I said no there.
Correct.
The word I heard was no.
Correct.
So yeah,
that's what I said. That's what I said. You said correct. So that you are changing your position now. Here I said, is the state of affairs the same? You said no. That's what the judge said. The judge said the state of affairs are not the same. So this is you saying here. And I repeat it back to you right here. I say, point that the judge said that, as we did when Trump wrote it. No, we didn't. Okay, so it's not. It has nothing to do with him being Democrat. He is objectively correct, and you agree with him. Is that it does not account for the state.
Okay, sorry, I was listening to the other stream. So here's the deal. Did I mute you?
No, you should be able to hear me. I was just playing it back for you to show that I repeated it back to you and said you agree with the judge, and you didn't disagree with this. You seemed to agree with the judge, but then you went off on a long tangent, and then at the end of it said that you disagree with the judge again.
Tom, there's two judges. I presented you the first one, which was a Republican-appointed judge who actually agreed with the 21 states.
This is the one. Yes, this is the one that denied it. Yes, this is the one that denied it.
I agreed with that judge. I agreed with that judge's position, because he said that it's going to create an exasperation of health crisis, and he agreed with the states. Now, the guy I didn't agree with, because the vaccine is not enough, and that's what the states actually argued, that the vaccine is not enough, and that you're going to create a health crisis at the border. That judge I did not agree with, and it was a Democratic appointee judge.
Okay, I don't care. I don't care. No, you didn't. But that doesn't. Like, this makes absolutely no sense. Okay, so let me just ask you again. Okay, we're just gonna one more time. Do you believe that the state of affairs when Trump wrote Title 42, when he had COVID first taking over and it was spreading quickly, we didn't have vaccines or anything, we had we didn't have a border shutdown, we didn't have anything set up for this? Do you believe that when Trump wrote Title 42, did he have do we have the same set of circumstances at the end of it when the Democratic judge made that decision? Do we have the same circumstances in both scenarios?
My understanding, in 2022, China was still under lockdown. Many other countries were under lockdown, and there was still a supply chain issue. My understanding, and that's why I agree with the states in this position, is that there was still a health crisis happening. There could be a warning, and there was warnings about certain emergencies. Like United Arab Emirates was still completely under lockdown in 2022. So underneath these circumstances, I understand that there could be a vaccine, but the warnings all pointed that there could be an exasperation of a health crisis if you open the border that early. That there was it's okay for us to wait. There was ample time. We just came out of an emergency. There was no need to rush. That's what the states argued, that you're creating, that you're going to expand the health crisis.
So you thought we should still be locked down at the time?
Read the 21 lawsuits. Read the 21 lawsuits.
Hold on. Don't pivot. Don't pivot. So you agree? So you think we should have been locked down at that point? You think everybody should have still been inside?
No. I agree with you. There was a little bit of change, but I also you have to also agree. No. My question. No. You have to allow me. You have to allow me, Tom. You have to allow me. You have to allow me to. No. You have to allow me to respond. Let me respond, Tom. I agree with you. There was a difference. Let me finish, please. Give me 10 seconds. I agree with you. There was a difference in circumstances. But do you agree with me, and answer this question before you go on your tangent, do you agree with me that those that 21 states and a federal appointed judge by a Republican Party agreed that there could be an exasperation of health crisis if we let Title 42 expire? Do you agree with that as well? Do you agree that there was evidence that there could be an exasperation of a health crisis if we allow Title 42 to expire?
It depends on how many vaccinated we had at the time.
My question is, do you agree or not? My question.
And I just told you it depends.
And November 2022. No, you didn't. You said depends.
Yes,
No, you
correct.
said depends. You said depends.
Correct.
That's not an answer.
Correct.
I want a yes or no. Do you
I don't know.
agree that there was
I don't know.
with the 21 states that there could be a health crisis exasperation if you allow people to come in after expiring Title 42 so early after the pandemic emergency was released? Do you agree with that sentiment?
I don't know, so I'll have to check. I will get you the
So you
exact
go against the
information.
federal,
No, hold on.
conservative
Again, I don't give a fuck. I'm reading. I will read the numbers and then I will give you an exact answer. So I still have a share screen up for you, so you should still be able to see what's on my screen. So
yeah, I'm looking at it.
Let's see. Okay, so that was what was that? That was May of 2022 when the Democrat judge overturned Title 42, correct?
Sure.
Okay. So
remember, you didn't answer my question.
I know,
do you
that's
agree
right. I'm getting the information right now. I'm getting the information right now.
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. All you need to do is read the 21 lawsuits that the the states brought to the federal government to try to keep Title 42 intact. Read those. All of them cited health crisis, health risks on the border, exasperation of the number of people.
Okay, so yeah, it
Good
says
debate,
at this
guys.
point,
Can I talk to your
it
chat
says
for a
at this
second? I'm
point
so
we're it's at well, I'm answering the question. It says at this point that we are at 78% vaccinated, and then so I would say 78% means yes, there is a potential for a health crisis with the borders getting opened back up. If they went back to like business as usual, just allowing people to come in all willy-nilly like they were before, then yes, there is potential there for that to exist.
Okay. Do you agree that there were certain countries still under lockdown? So there could be possible that it's a signal that there is still a health crisis looming. Is that could be possible signal indicator maybe?
Yeah, sure.
So you agree that even though it was November 2022, if there was any other country, if I could prove to you any other country was under lockdown, then you could at least understand that some other countries still had this concern of immigration, still had the concern of health crisis, still had an emergency. And you were arguing that this was a global epidemic and it was like a global phenomena, so everything was exasperated at the same time. So you would have to also agree that if there's still some countries that are having a big high alert on health risks, that we should as well. Do you agree there?
Yeah, of course.
All right, perfect. So all I have to do here is show you that in 2022 there were certain countries still under lockdown.
No.
And then you would have to agree with me that there could be a health crisis exasperation if we allow Title 42 to expire.
No, hold on. I already agreed that there is a potential for a health crisis there. It depends on how they deal with it. And what they did is they made it to where you have to be vaccinated in order to get into the country. So it doesn't really matter at that point. Like they just say you have to show proof that you're vaccinated in order to immigrate here. Done. So that part's dealt with. There is potential.
Okay, so
they dealt with the potential.
So, so depending on if there was so depending on, so you said depending on the vaccine, your vaccine is your number one indicator that now we can go back to normal, or do you have any other indicators that show you that you're allowed to go back to normal? And that, because my understanding is, according to the lawsuits, they provided lots of different sources providing information about how allowing Title 42 to expire too early can exasperate health crisis. So there's a lot of sourcing in there.
So like what? I would, off the top of my head, yes, vaccinated is the only thing that I think really matters, because the only reason that we shut it down in the first place was because of fear of COVID coming in and getting cross-pollination from different countries. If we have a plan to fix COVID for our country, but a different country has a different plan, well, then we can't really work a plan if people are doing different things, which is kind of the problem with different states. But anyways, so as long as we run that plan, we get people up to the vaccinated. I think the point of Herd immunity was between 65 and 70%. We got there at this point. So we're already there. Now we just have to make sure that there aren't more people coming in that are unvaccinated. Off the top of my head, that's the only thing that matters. What else do the lawsuits mention?
The lawsuits mentioned that the health that there's going to be an increased number of people coming in, which can create if they're not vaccinated appropriately.
If they're not vaccinated, we already covered that. Yes, if they're not vaccinated, but we already covered that.
If they're not vaccinated, and so they argued that it was a little bit too early and we should still do a preliminary kind of test period. And that's what the judge agreed to, and then another judge disagreed, I guess. I don't know, or there was another lawsuit. I'm not really sure on the actual details. But my understanding is the whole argument I was bringing up this, because you were the one that brought up Title 42, remember? The whole reason we went on this tangent, if you remember, Tom, was that Title 42 was necessary for the stoppage of illegal immigration to come into the through the border. But then turns out that the Democrats didn't actually work at all to hold on to Title 42 and actually worked against Title 42. So how can you say that the Democrats are not part of this exasperation of the health crisis at the border, or sorry, the illegal immigration crisis at the border?
Okay. So what I said I was.
Can you actually answer that question though? I know that's not what we were talking about, but I want to change the subject because I don't know where we are. I need you to answer this.
You're right, and that's what I'm going back to. But I was not blaming Trump for writing Title 42, saying it's his fault that we had this influx in immigration. I didn't say that. I didn't do that. I'm saying that because there was a lockdown where tons of people would have been coming over the border, we would have had normal immigration numbers during that time. All of those people that normally would have immigrated during that period are just stacked up now. They're all just waiting to come in. Then, once we get to a point where we do open it up, those people are able to come in. Then on top of that, we were the first ones to deal with inflation. We had a labor shortage, which meant that most companies didn't have enough people to work. They needed workers. They were all dying to fucking find workers. And so we ended up, so hold on, I'm just telling you that these are reasons for why people were coming to our country. I gave you tons of reasons.
People were dying for work, not because they needed illegal immigrants.
Hold on, don't move, bro. Don't move. We're on one thing right now. I did not say that it is Title 42's fault. I didn't say it is Trump's fault for writing Title 42, that's why all of these people were made to come over the border. I didn't say that. I said that these are circumstances that created it to where we would have more people coming over the border. The only reason that I made this argument is to say that it wasn't Biden's fault that people were coming over the border at high rates, but they were coming over the border at high rates. So now all we want to know is how did he deal with it? How did he deal with it? Did he deal with it correctly?
No, it's not Biden's fault. It just happened underneath his administration. It was a Democratic appointee judge that declared that Trump Title 42 to be expired. It was even after many conservative states tried to fight to keep this.
If you're going back to that, I can't talk to you. If you're going back to that, if you're going back to that, I literally can't talk to you. You just said you wanted to move on, and now you're going backwards. You said you wanted to move on, and you're fucking going backwards. This is fucking bullshit, dude. I don't know what to do.
One last point on this. Tom, one last point on this. You mentioned that Trump wrote this bill, but oh my God, Biden had no ability to do anything to influence this bill in any way. Whatever, man. Let's move on.
That's not what I said.
Now, I really want to know about that.
That's not what I said. Dude, bro, this is the problem in this conversation, is that every time you try to repeat back what I said, it is something insanely fucking different from what I actually said. And I'm trying my best to be as clear as possible. I'm not going on long tangents. I'm not trying to overcomplicate it. I'm trying to be as short and concise, but you're still changing everything that I say. You're never arguing against anything that I said.
Title 42?
I did say he wrote Title 42.
And you didn't say that Biden administration had nothing to do with Title 42 being expired and had no ability to actually hold on and keep the Title 42 in power? Didn't you say that?
No, you said, so the Biden administration could have put in a placeholder, and I said, what placeholder? It was there for COVID.
Turns out, after I did the research,
we're not gonna.
They could have kept Title 42 going. Turns out they're the ones that allowed it to expire. The Democratic appointee judge.
Okay, bro. If you want to go back to Title 42, we can. You said you wanted to move on from it, but you're going back to.
I do. If you want to move on.
But we agreed that one, yes, the judge ruled that the circumstances were different. Then you said, well, what would make circumstances bad enough to where you feel like we have to extend this? I said that if they were letting people in that were unvaccinated, that would be the only issue. That is the health crisis. They made a law that you couldn't immigrate in unless you were vaccinated. That fixes that. There is nothing else to talk about with Title 42. And I wasn't blaming Title 42 for why. I wasn't saying it's Trump's fault that people came in. We were talking about it because, yes, you felt like I was saying that they couldn't have extended it. And I'm saying there was no reason for them to extend it. That's what I said.
Wow. Okay, that's great. So you agree with halting immigration that could create a risk for a health crisis. You agree with halting immigration if it creates a health crisis risk at the border. You agree with that?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
All right, good. That's all. Okay, good. Then we agree there. I kind of disagree with you that Biden had no power. I feel like he had, through my research and what I've been doing.
I didn't say
that's.
I don't.
Well, it seems like
every
seems like you were defending the administration that they allowed Title 42 to expire. That's just what it seemed like.
Yes, and again, that's based on reasoning that we were not in the same circumstances when Title 42
Do you
was
know
written.
that North Korea started locking down in May 2022?
And of course, you can never
That's
respond
when they
to that
started
ever.
the lockdown.
You will never engage with that point. It's fucking obnoxious, dude. I'm arguing with a fucking wall
you're acting
here.
like the
you
whole
will not
world was
engage with my
different.
arguments.
Literally, some countries started
I'm
locking down.
No, I'm not. Stop with the fucking straw mans, bro. You can't stop with fucking straw mans. Like, you really can't.
Then? What's the argument that the status of the world wasn't different in 2022 than it was in 2021? Isn't that what the argument was?
Yes, you said that you're acting like it was all totally different. There's no problems anymore. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that nobody else was locked down anymore. Nobody else had issues. I'm saying that even if they are, we just have to make sure that they're vaccinated before they come in. And it has to be vaccinated by one of our approved vaccines or something that we think actually works. We didn't allow all vaccines into our country. We only allowed like 3 different vaccines for COVID in our country. And so they had to be vaccinated by one of the ones that we approve in order to get into our country. That fixes any fucking health issues that we're afraid of. That fixes it, right? We agree on this. Yes? That just fixes it. But this is the part that you skip every. Okay. Thank you. All right.
Okay. Do you agree that let me ask you, did you actually like Title 42?
Yeah.
So you agreed with Title 42. You liked it because there was an emergency crisis. You thought it really can help,
Yeah, when I brought it up, I was like, this was like totally necessary for Trump to write this and
so you also, like me, was very sad to see Title 42 go away and an exasperation of the problem. You were, right?
No. Again,
doesn't matter what the position. So you weren't sad,
no,
even though you know that there might be an exasperation.
No, it didn't. It needed to go away eventually. Yes, we agree. Yes, it wasn't supposed to stay forever.
Do you agree that we could have waited a little bit?
Hold on. You agree that it had to go away at some point? Yes.
Yeah, but do you agree we could have done a preliminary testing, not in the middle of the pandemic, where certain countries are still under lockdown and it had just started locking down?
It depends on if that sounds like something necessary. But if we're making sure that people are vaccinated before they come in, then what are we testing for?
It's good. All I needed to do was get you to agree with me that Title 42 is a good thing, and then we have to also agree that it went away underneath the Biden administration. Now, you could argue that the Biden administration had no ability to hold off. In my opinion, the conservatives also felt like there was no ability for them to hold off. They went ahead and created lawsuits, and looks like they actually were successful. It held off. So the idea that you couldn't have held it off, you couldn't have created any maybe policy change or any kind of law or any kind of bill you could have introduced as a Biden administrator to try to hold off the Title 42 is kind of ridiculous. Now, your only argument here is you're okay with Title 42 going away as long as we bring in vaccinated people. But turns out that was a complete failure, correct? You agree with that? That failed?
No. Why would that be a failure? What are you talking about?
Because the border crisis exasperated.
Wait, that's not relevant. This was about a health crisis. Those lawsuits were about a health crisis. So whether or not it was exasperated, that's again different from what we are arguing here with the fucking lawsuits. That's a health crisis. There was no health crisis. We agreed. There's no health crisis. They said, you just said, well, despite the fact that they only let in vaccinated people, it's still bad. No, the vaccinated people, we didn't end up with a massive fucking influx of COVID from immigrants coming in. So but if we can get back to this now, yes, the numbers still are not 10 million illegal immigrants. So if we can get back to that, so that like it is 1.7 million. The Biden administration did like detain tons of people. They did stop tons of people from coming in, and they did deport more than Trump, obviously, because they had a lot more people.
1.7 are just known gotaways.
Yeah, so
they are illegal immigrants who have evaded. So just 1.7 million are known gotaways. So that's
but that's but real quick, that's not. We don't actually ever think that that's how many are in the country, because it's definitely less than that. So we would say that, like, okay, 1.7 million evades and gotaways, right? So it's evades and gotaways. That means that they like caught them on camera, like getting around patrol and everything like that. So they come into the country. We assume lots of them have been arrested and deported. Lots of them have gone back home. Lots of them, were only here for a little bit and returned. Some of them are still probably arrested and sitting in a jail somewhere. And so there are tons of them that we would assume the number is smaller, but we would also assume that we didn't catch all of them. So we would kind of replace those and say, yeah, even though the number is smaller than 1.7, we'll just leave it at 1.7 because we probably missed some as well that could be here too. So we just leave it there.
So if there's no policy on pushing the illegal encounters at the border out, do you agree? There's no policy to push these encounters away. They're allowed to come in, seek asylum, create as long as they sign up to the process, and then they're released within the country as long as they come back and complete the forms. So no. Do you agree with that or no?
No. Obviously,
so you don't agree that the encounters.
If they're
setting
so records in deportations and returns.
Let me ask you the question and then you answer it. You don't agree when we removed remain in Mexico that when an asylum seeker comes in under the Biden administration and says, I am seeking asylum, and he files the forms and it turns out he's seeking asylum, that he doesn't stay in the U.S.? That's not what you're agreeing to? You're not agreeing with me on that?
No, they do.
Where does he go then?
They do. But okay.
So they do stay.
Just real quick.
So now you agree. Okay,
that's not what you said, though. That's a different one than what you said. Yeah, but that's different than your first question. But okay, fine. Go ahead.
I'm just going to get to a point, okay? So you agree with me that encounters increased. Now you agree with me, we removed remain in Mexico. That means when encounters increase and they come in, as long as they prove that they're asylum seekers, they're allowed to stay, okay? So now third thing is, turns out there's about 8 million to another number gives 60 million encounters of now they're not all asylum seekers, but they're all illegal immigrants, and they're allowed to say that they're asylum seeker. They're allowed that because the litmus test is not that big. They don't go back home. They don't go.
No, you're not allowed to claim asylum if you came into the country illegally. Biden wrote an executive order in I think it was the beginning of 2023, or when I believe it was just right after Title 42 expired, but it was either the end of 2022 or the beginning of 2023. He wrote an executive order that said that you're not allowed to claim asylum if you came over the border illegally. He got sued for that. That is against the law. It's against our UN agreements. It's against federal law. So he wasn't allowed to stop them from claiming asylum. So then they put it in the border bill because Congress can change that, but the president can't. President can't just write an executive order and change law. So Congress, they put it in the border bill for Congress to change. The Republicans voted down the border bill. So then they changed the border bill, took out like all the money with Israel, Ukraine, and all that crap, and they put the border bill up again. and then again, the Republicans didn't vote for it. So a second time then, Biden wrote another executive order that stopped illegal immigrants from claiming asylum, but it was once we got to full capacity in detainees, which is always, like, we're always at full capacity in detainees. So now he made it to where he says this is a humanitarian crisis, and so we can't lock up more people and we can't hold anybody else for asylum. So now we can't allow these people to claim asylum, and that stopped illegal immigrants from being able to claim it without him breaking the law.
Okay, cool. So I sent you a link. If you would look at it, please. It's a picture of the illegal alien encounters. It looks at Obama all the way to Biden. How, if there's no Remain in Mexico anymore, if illegal encounters increased,
again, that doesn't have anything to do with illegal immigration. I don't know why you keep bringing up Remain in Mexico. That has to do with asylums, not
no, yeah, it's very important because we need to know where the encounters are going. So if the encounters are up to 10 million, where are they going? So if there's 10 million new illegal encounters, like 100% increase in illegal encounters, and they're all at the southern border, we need to know where they're going. If there's no more Remain in Mexico, that means they're staying here. So it's not out of the question.
That's not true.
That's not true. That the actual 8 to 16 million that came encountered are actually in the country waiting.
No, none of that is true.
Many of them are illegal.
Nothing you just said is true.
They're past their time.
Okay,
go ahead.
So
what do you think?
Okay, so first off, the majority of encounters are detained and sent back. Okay, they're just returns. They're not even considered deportations. They're literally just grabbed and taken right back to the other side of the border. That's just the
illegal encounters.
Yes.
That's not the coming in seeking for asylum. So just illegal encounters.
Hold on. Huh? I just explained that. I just said that they can't claim asylum if they cross the border illegally. They have to go to a port of entry to claim asylum under the new executive order. The only way, hold on. The only way that they can do it is if we're not at max capacity on detainees. That's the only way that they can do it. But we're pretty much always at max capacity.
So you're misinformation. So you agree that they can come illegally, then seek for asylum. So this illegal encounter.
I just said this. I literally just said it 4 minutes ago.
No,
I literally just said this 4 minutes ago.
Because you waited till the end to say that unless we're not in maximum capacity.
4 minutes ago. I said it 4 minutes ago. I didn't wait till the end. I said it 4 fucking minutes ago. You just ignore every fucking thing that comes out of my mouth. You cannot argue against a single fucking thing that comes out of my mouth. Ever, bro. Ever. You don't listen to shit. You are actually fucking brain dead. You cannot understand English for some reason. I have said it numerous times. They let them in, but they take them back if we're at capacity. They cannot claim asylum. I said it numerous times. This is not the first time that I've said it. There's no fucking misinformation. I said it numerous times, bro. You just ignore it. What is happening? I don't understand. Like, literally, I don't get it. How many times do I have to say it?
We're getting to the point of contention here. We're getting to it right here. Finally, we're getting to it. So you believe that these illegal encounters, they come in and then they get pushed back out. I don't believe they're coming in and getting pushed back out. I believe they're coming in, claiming that they're still seeking asylum, even though they're illegal, and because there's no Remain in Mexico, and because they're, like you said, unless we're in maximum capacity, we don't turn them out. Then we've just been accepting them. So my argument is not. Show me proof that you sent back 8.2 million illegal encounters. Show me proof they sent back all these illegal encounters. That's all I want to.
Yeah, we can pull up the asylum numbers and show that over 90%. I don't know why you're still talking. That we can pull up the asylum numbers and just show that at the very first part of the process of trying to claim asylum, 90% of those people do not even get to get like a court date or anything. They, as soon as they fill out the fucking paperwork, they're like, nope, you don't qualify, gone. And we can just show 90% of them gone. Very first part of the process. There's no reason to believe that somebody who doesn't.
Show it to me. Send it to me. I've been sending you reports all day. Show me which report are you reading to give you the 90% number at the first 6 months or whatever. because the what I'm looking at is an exasperation of encounters. What I'm looking at is the policies are not pushing them out; they're keeping them in. And you're claiming that all these encounters have been kicked out. I don't see any source saying that these encounters were left the country. I don't see anything at all. That 8.2 million encounters that you agreed to me with me at around 10 million encounters had all been tossed out of the country. I don't see any source on that.
Well, hold on. We can even just look at the fucking.
I see the source saying the encounters came, but I don't see the source saying they left.
Hold on. Let me pull this one.
That's all I'm looking for.
Because yeah, there's a number of things that have like, let's see. This is the. Okay, I think this is the. Oh no, this is the report on those.
I'm trying to find it. I can't see 10 million being sent back. I don't see the number. We see 10 million encounters. We don't see 10 million sent back. Thank you, Katmir. Appreciate you, my brother. Thank you, Katmir. I'm telling you, I can't find the source.
Yeah, hold on. I heard you the first 5
Katmir,
times you said it.
Follow me, man. Katmir, follow me. Mantis, you need to follow me too. Chill. I'm not that crazy.
Bro, I have to repeat everything fucking 10 times
I
before you even
Tom,
engage
for giving
with
me
it.
your time. I really do. You're a big channel. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. I'm
okay.
in good faith, man. I don't want to piss you off.
Okay. So this is the one that was just about the Title 42, showing that this just shows like how many they were releasing or returning on that one. So it says on his first day in office, President Joe Biden announced sweeping plans to reform decades-old immigration laws, undo many of the restrictive policies of the predecessor Trump administration, and provide pathways to legal status for nations estimated 1.1 unauthorized immigrants. 2 years later, few of those. Oh wait, this isn't the right one. Hold, wait, maybe it is. No, this isn't it. Okay, here it is.
And by the way, I really want to talk about the destiny.
Migration. Okay, that's fine. So yeah, the Biden administration took office amid heightened debate in some circles over the merits of tactics and deportations, yet is on track to carry out as many removals and returns as the Trump administration did. The 1.5 million deportations since the beginning of the fiscal year, 2021 through 2024, the most recent data available, are on path to match the 1.5 million deportations carried out during the 4 years President Donald Trump was in office. These deportations are in addition to the 3 million expulsions of migrants crossing the border irregularly. So when we're talking about just like encounters, we're normally going to look at returns and expulsions to see that they were taken back. This is just halfway through 2022, showing that they already had 3 million expulsions. So it kind of I can try to find the no, this is the Biden administration. These deportations are in addition to the 3 million expulsions of migrants crossing the border irregularly that occurred under the pandemic era Title 42 order between March 2020 and May 2023. These are, some of it was under Trump, but the majority of this is under Biden.
So total that altogether, how many are these sent back?
It says 5 million in its second. Oh no, sorry. So this is the 1 million deportations, 1.5. That was Trump, the 1.5 million. So there's 1 million deportations since the beginning of the fiscal year. 5 million deportations carried out. Deportations are in addition to the 3 million expulsions. So that's 4 million.
What's a repatriation return?
No,
so it says here 4.4 million repatriation.
Yeah, repatriation.
Or repatriation. So he got to 4 million repatriation.
I think the 4 million is from 20. That's from. Isn't that from the beginning of 2023?
I'm trying to read this. The Biden administration nearly, without permission to enter the United States, the Biden administration nearly 4.4 million repatriations are already more than any single presidential term since the George W. Bush administration. So he had the most amount of repatriations. Is that what it says there?
Oh yes, okay, yeah, there it is. Yeah, that's the 4.4 million. Okay, sorry.
The vast majority of which occurred under the Biden administration, combining deportations with expulsions and other actions to block migrants without permission to enter the United States. The Biden administration, nearly 4.4 million repatriations are already more than any single. So there was 4.4 million repatriations. So I'm trying to understand this. Where did these 4.4 million come from? If these illegal encounters are being sent back home, and it seems like these illegal immigrants that come in are not allowed to seek asylum. Where are these numbers? Why are these numbers so exasperated? Where are they coming from? So it seems to follow.
Hold on. I need to clarify this. Hold on. I'm not understanding. You were asking. So there's 8 million encounters. We have 4.4 million repatriations, which means the 4.4 million returns, whether it's expulsions, deportations, or returns. So it's just that's how many people were returned back. And this is at the beginning. Yes, and this is at the beginning of 2023. So we're saying in the first 2 years, halfway through his administration, he had 4.4 million halfway through. Right now, we're at about 8 to 10 million encounters, and you're saying, where are all of these going? And so I'm saying, well, if we're at 4.4 halfway through, why wouldn't that make sense that you're like that halfway through, they were returning all of these people?
Yeah, but because it's showing that from the 8 million encounters, they only returned half. So with the statistical analysis...
Halfway through.
Let me finish.
Wait, no, hold on. You acknowledge that, yes? This is halfway through the administration, March 2020 to May 2023.
We're halfway through the administration.
Yes, halfway through the administration.
But it's also counting the other administrations as well. So, anyways,
yeah, but this is as of March 2020, so it's only the last couple months of his administration.
The point is, with the margin of error of statistical analysis, let's give it 5-10% marginal error. In the 4.4 number and in the 8.9 number, there you go. Now you have an additional 7 million to almost 10 million people that are existing that were never deported. Do you see that?
Wait, say that again.
So if you add with statistical analysis margins of error of 5 to 10%, let's say 4.4 million went down to 3.5. The 8.9 million of illegal encounters went up to 10. Now you can see that there's about 5 to 7 million, maybe up to 10 million of people that were never sent back. Do you see where these numbers are coming from now? We're counting the illegal encounters. They're not adding up to the people getting sent back.
Hold on.
And there is no policy to send these people back.
Hold on, we gotta go over these numbers again. Hold on. So the source that you had said 10 million encounters, okay? Under the Biden administration, 10 million encounters, right? So this has 4.4. So if we want to take, let's say there was about a year there. So it was from March until January was under the Trump administration. So it's about 9 months. So let's just take 1 million off. Okay. I'll give you a whole fucking like quarter of this. We take 1 million off. That we have over 3 million, about 3.5 million just in the first 2 years, right? And this is
I'm being nice to you. There's reports of 16 million encounters.
Stop.
There's reports of 16 million encounters. Right. I'm being nice to you right now.
Okay. Then no, you're not being nice because you're switching with numbers. So we have to agree on what we're talking about.
That's why I gave you an out.
Hold on. So you sent me this that says there aren't 20 million to 30 million immigrants in the U.S., right? And this said that sorry, this is the wrong one. Hold on. Where's the other one? You sent me one that said that there were 10 million encounters. Okay. There it is. Oh, wait, no, it says they're on track to reach 10 million encounters. Okay. So mine says that we have 8 million so far. and that's from the Biden border bust. This is the House Oversight Committee. That's the Republican Accountability Committee for Homeland Security, where they're saying that he needs to do better, right? So this says that there's over 8 million migrant encounters nationwide. This, and it says 6.7 of them are at the southwest border, okay? So this just came out in September. This just came out in September. So this is what we would look at to say, okay, how many are happening at the border? How many fucking are they missing, and how many are going around the wall and shit like that, right? This is 6.7 million, but even if I give you the 8 million, we're still more than on track to meet that with the 3.5 million here. This is showing that and this is during a lot of this is during Title 42 when the numbers were lower, right? So this is when there was so that means that if they're this high when the numbers were lower, then we would expect them to be even higher when the numbers are higher, because this is during Title 42 era.
So this is all about 6 months to a year old, but you don't have any evidence to show that these numbers should be smaller. If anything, I can show you an exasperation. It's a bigger number. So maybe the last.
I'm not understanding. Hold on. I need clarification. I don't know what your point is. I don't know what you're saying, bro.
Okay, let me finish. Let me fucking finish.
Hold on.
The last 6 months there was a reduction, but that's it. That doesn't account.
Okay, I don't understand what this asks. I don't understand. You said you don't have evidence that. I don't. I'm trying to ask. You said that I don't have evidence that the numbers should be smaller. What does that mean? I'm saying the numbers should be bigger. So what do you mean the numbers should be smaller? What are you referring to?
So if this is a year old, and you're right, the last 6 months maybe the encounters went down. But if this is a year old and there was a big exasperation until the last 6 months, you don't know. How do you know the numbers are going down? How do you know that?
No, I said that they would go up. I didn't. I said that they would go up.
Okay,
I said
so the 8 million went up.
No, hold on. Hold on. This is at the beginning of 2023. Okay, so
I don't know
stay with me. Stay with me. This is.
I didn't even come to debate the immigration, by the way, guys. He created this whole issue because this is his only issue. This is the only thing he knows. By the way, I want to debate what he means by Destiny when he talks to Destiny and talks about media control, and he agrees with Destiny that there should be more media control. That's what I really want.
I'm happy to get to that. Okay.
Let's play his game. I'll keep playing this game because till now he hasn't proven that these 10 million even every time he mentions a number, he's proving that they were never kicked out of the country. That there's no policies to kick them out. Actually, the policies.
All right. I let you do your grandstanding bullshit, but just showing that you don't understand what the fuck's going on.
The policy completely switched underneath Biden administration.
Okay, so what I'm saying here, okay, so just stay with me. This is very simple. This is very, very simple, okay? This is at the beginning of 2023 when this stopped, okay? So I said, okay, some of this is from Trump's. I will give you 1 million of these. That's over the fucking portion of time that Trump had this, but I'll give you a quarter of them, say 1 million of those go away, okay? So 1 million of them gone. But if, let's say, this is halfway through Biden's administration, so that would mean that there were maybe 4 million encounters, and this has 3.5 million fucking returns. We're looking at something where by far the majority of these are getting taken away. So now we look at where we're at now. So if half of them are 4 million, and we say 3.5 million of them are going away, then 8 million now, then we would just look at this and say, wow, well, they were taking by far the majority of them then. So if that's halfway and it's only doubled since then yeah, it looks like pretty much by far the majority of them are getting taken out. That's what I said.
Listen,
do you understand that? Can you repeat that back to me just real quick? I want to make sure. Can you just repeat it back to me real quick? What is my argument?
I defeated you 100% according to your own data that we're looking at.
No, repeat back my argument.
Go back to the slide you were looking at 1 second ago. Go back. I just defeated you in your actual argument.
Okay, that's cool. So, repeat back to me my argument. Before you say anything, I'm gonna server mute you until you repeat back to me my argument. I
don't care about what you're saying because you keep switching the topic. I actually have defeated you here. I found it finally. Here, look at it.
Okay, I got him on server mute. I'm not playing this fucking game with him. He keeps wanting to pivot. He will not stay on one thing at a time. I can't have a conversation with somebody if they don't ever understand what I'm saying. Bro, I'm just trying to get you to repeat back my argument. That's it. I just want you. You're unmuted. I just need you to tell me what I just said. That's it. That's all I want from you. I want to make sure that you understand me. That's all.
Am I unmuted?
No, I said you're unmuted. I want you to just repeat back my argument to me. I want to make sure that you understand what I'm saying. That's it. That's all I want.
I guess your argument is that 4.4 million happened underneath Biden. Until maybe a year ago, that was what the number is, and you're showing that there, I guess, according to your own data, that there's more people being deported. So now the number should be up to 7 million. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, 7-8 million. Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah.
So now you're saying that all 8 million that illegal encounters that came in all left. That's what your whole argument. That's why you're trying to point that out.
I'm saying by far the majority of them seem to be going.
Well, I destroyed your argument.
But yeah. Okay.
If you will allow me without interruption, I've completely destroyed your argument. I'm going to let your chat go ahead and choose and make the decision here.
Okay.
So here's the actual argument. I was reading this slide right here. 1.1 million deportations beginning of the fiscal year of 2021 through 2024. The most recent since the and then on pace to match the 1.5 million deportations underneath Trump. So underneath Trump, there was 1.5 million deportations in addition to 3 million expulsions. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you understand? So there's 4.45 million expulsions and deportations underneath Trump.
No.
Then we go to Biden.
This is Biden. This is Biden.
That's Trump. That's Trump.
No, so
That's
this
Trump.
is here.
You don't know how to read
right here.
that.
Hold on. This is right here. The 1.1 million. Hold on, just listen. This is the 1.1 million deportations are the beginning of the fiscal year through February 2022. So we're still talking about Biden here. It says the most recent data available are on pace to match the 1.5 million deportations carried out in the 4 years President Trump was in office, period. Now, this whole article is about Biden. Then it says these deportations are in addition to the 3 million expulsions of migrants crossing the border irregularly that occurred under the pandemic era Title 42 between March 2020 and May 2023. That is not Trump. Yeah, that is Biden.
It's Trump Title 42. It's Trump's Title 42. It's Trump's Title 42. I don't care what you say. It's Trump's Title 42. So we're going to give it to him.
Okay.
Fine. Okay. So can you give it to him? Now it's 4.5 million. Can I finish my argument? Holy shit, man. Okay, guys, you see the tomfoolery's game? He won't let you finish the topic. Okay, but now that you guys caught him that he's actually don't know how to read articles, now you know that this is actually the right number. 4.5 is the right number of deportations and expulsions according to Trump, underneath Trump. Finally, he learned how to read an article. So now we also read earlier. Tom, let me finish, please. Earlier, we read that there's 100% exasperation of encounters coming in through the southern border. And now we are looking at your number. You presented this number, which was 4.4 million. So 100% increase, but the same amount of the deportations, it's not adding up. There's more people staying that, and according to the calculations, it can be easily between 7 to 15 million. So these reports are not crazy. The idea that you keep calling us misinformation is not crazy. You're not debunking us. Debunk what I actually argued right now. Go.
I already did. You didn't argue against what I just said. If you want to change the numbers, hold on. If you want to change the numbers, as I said, from the official numbers from the Republican Oversight Committee, that it is 8 million, which is right here. That's what they say. 8 million here. Now, I said, if you want to argue that somebody else is correct, I'm okay with that. But I'm saying that under the official numbers from the Republican Commission on this, they are saying that that's the number, 8 million. This came out in September. So this is recent data. This is saying that that he has, yes, the 4.4. So that is the 1.1 and the 3 million added up to where they come to a total of about 4.4 million here. So that's all that is. That doesn't change. So this is halfway through his administration, and now we're almost totally through his administration. So yes, if we go from this, it looks like he is getting rid of the majority of them. But everything you just said didn't change anything that I said outside of the fact that there
remember
are
we
some
looked at it.
people who say that there's more encounters. There are. I've already
Remember,
acknowledged
Tom,
that.
Tom, we looked at it. There was 100% exasperation of encounters. The Remain in Mexico policy was removed, so the encounters increased. But you're telling me the same amount of deportations as Trump happened, even after removing Remain in Mexico and Title 42? That means there's an unaccountable number of people still inside the United States, and that's the policy of the Biden administration, is to keep them there. There is no policy to send them back unless they broke the law.
Wait, no, you said earlier, so you were acting like earlier, all of those people are claiming asylum. I'm saying not all of them, but I am saying that when we look at this, there are a couple million left over. Hold on, there are a couple million that are left over. And I would assume that, yes, those couple million people are able to claim asylum. And so that's where you're saying there's an unaccounted number. Yes, I would assume some of them are able to claim asylum.
Okay, so do you understand? What do you mean they can claim asylum? Sorry, go ahead. The last point. What did you say? That final point?
That you said that there's a couple million left over that are unaccounted for, and I'm agreeing, and I'm saying yes, there are a couple million, and we would assume
listen
that those
to my
are
argument, Tom, so you know what you're arguing against. The argument here is the encounters increased by 100%. The protections of Title 42 and the Remain of Mexico was removed. Now there's a policy of, if you have a need for seek asylum, you're allowed to stay here. We're going to take care of you. We're going to be on mass parole, and you're going to be in the United States. 100% increase the exasperation of encounters, but the same amount of deportations as the previous administration. Explain what happened to the discrepancy, the 100% increase of encounters that are still here. That you have not proven that were turned around, and you have not proven that were left. You haven't proven that. You're just assuming based on, oh, these are old numbers, so the new numbers should be that. What if I show you new numbers that are crazier, much more exasperated?
Okay. So again, this says they're on pace to meet the 1.5 million deportations carried out under all 4 years of Donald Trump. That's what it says. It says they're at 1.1 so far, but that's just deportations. They also have 3 million expulsions, and then they have returns. These are all different things. So they're saying that some of them are not deportations, they're returns and expulsions.
You're being wrong. You're wrong.
Expulsions. Hold on. It says under from 2020 to 2023.
The 1.7 are additional known gotaways. They're not even added to the 8.2. Do you understand? They're not added to the 8 million. These are 1.7 additional. These are additional gotaways. They're not at the same. They're not encounters. They're gotaways. They're different.
Hold on. You're talking about this here. That's different. This is the gotaways.
I didn't cited the 1.7 million number.
No, I didn't. I said 1.1. I said 1.1 million deportations. I'm literally highlighting it on the screen for you as I'm reading it. The 1.1 million deport. If you're in the Discord, I'm sharing my screen with you in the Discord. Okay. So it says the 1.1 million deportations. Okay, it says just since the beginning of the fiscal year of 2021 through 2024. Then it says down here that they had 3 million expulsions of migrants crossing the border irregularly that occurred under the pandemic era Title 42 from March 2020 to May 2023. I said, yes, some of those go to fucking Trump. Some of those, there's 9 months of that was under Trump. So some of those go to Trump, but the rest of these are 4.4 million the rest of them are about 3.5 million that go to Biden. I don't know how you're missing this. We said 3.5 million. Like, we agreed on this. I said I was giving you extra to go to Trump. We're 3.5 million go to Biden.
Okay, so you keep changing, you keep citing from 2 different places. One from how many encounters we have, and then one from how many deportations we have. So when you're looking, we already looked at the 4.4 number. I already gave it to you. But you have to agree that you were citing earlier the number 8 million, and then the 1.7 is additional to the 8 million. So this is on top of it.
Okay.
And these are the ones that are non gotaways.
You're right.
So you misrepresented that.
No,
That's all I was.
I agree. I'm saying that this is only through May of 2023. By the time this administration finishes, we will be at the beginning of 2025. So I'm saying, yes, about halfway through his administration in May of 2023, we are at 4.4. We're saying 3.5. So halfway through. So if we double that, as you said earlier, it's about 7. So if we have about 7, and then we go over to say, okay, well, this says there's 8 million encounters nationwide, then
plus 1.7.
Well, the 1.7 is we're already assuming those are illegal immigrants that are already in the country. That's totally separate. They're not being detained. We can't assume they're not. You're asking about people who have been encountered. So you're saying there's so many people being encountered. Why
about how many
think? Well, you said there's so
many
many people being encountered.
What's the total number of illegal immigrants in the country after your math? Do your math and then tell me what's the total number after everything.
Yeah, so I said about 1.7 million. So out of the 1.7 million, we would assume lots of them have been detained. Hold on, wait. Well, sure. I was going to say lots of them have been detained and returned. Lots of them just went home. They were only here for a little while. Maybe they were like bringing drugs or some shit, and then they went back home. Some of them maybe.
No, 1.7 they evaded. No, the 1.7 evaded border patrol.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Hold on. That's what I'm saying. Wait, no. Hold on.
No, you're saying that they were.
Hold on. Listen. Hold on. We're saying they weren't caught by border patrol. They can be caught by other city police, county police, state police. They can be caught.
Okay, but you have no evidence to that. The evidence we're looking at says now living in the interior of the United States without documentation, without having undergone any vetting by immigration.
Correct. Yes,
immigration
I'm trying
officials.
Yes, exactly. So I'm saying that I'm giving you some numbers here. Hold on. I'm giving you some numbers here. I'm saying that out of this, I'm just trying to explain my rationale here. That if it says 1.7 million for his entire administration, and we know that some of them are going to go back home, some of them are going to be returned, and some of them are probably being detained currently. Out of those people, even though some go back home and some aren't here anymore, we would also assume they don't catch everybody. And there's some people that they literally don't know about. There's evades and gotaways that they don't even know about. So I'll just leave it at 1.7 million, and I'll say, even though some went home and some don't count on this anymore, I'll still leave it there and say 1.7 million. Cool. We'll just keep that number.
You have to give me the total. You have to give me the total. You don't know how to answer a question. I told you what's the total number. You do your math because I did my math, and it's.
What did I
want
just
to
tell
see
you?
What your math.
What did I just tell you?
You're only talking about the 1.7. You're not adding up the 8 million minus the 4.5 plus the 1.7. You're not doing any of that.
Yes, I am. 1.7. I just explained it.
1.7.
I literally just explained it. 1.7. That's it. That is it.
So illegal encounters are all outside of the USA? All of them? Where's your proof?
Illegal encounters.
Sorry.
The
encounters, the additional encounters, all are still outside the USA. Where's your proof? Go ahead.
What are you talking about? I don't know what that means.
100% exasperation of encounters underneath the Biden administration. Where did they go? Are they being sent back home? Show me your proof.
Okay, we can move on to the next thing with Destiny. We just spent the last 30 minutes on this. I already did that.
I appreciate you for that.
I literally just did that with all of this. That's what we just went over with all of this.
What's your math? What's your math in the end? How many people are illegal with the encounters, with all the encounters, everything, and all the deportation, expulsions, and the illegal immigrants here? What's your math?
Total amount of illegal immigrants.
Assume the encounters are staying in America because you're not showing me any proof that they're leaving.
I didn't. I said that we would assume some of them claim asylum. Do you know what? Okay, just real quick.
Okay, what's your math? Give me the math.
Hold on. I am. But the problem is that even the thought process on this is somehow broken. Where like an encounter means that Border Patrol came upon these people. They catch them, right? Going? Hold on. They catch them. Some of them get away. So that's where these numbers go. Is some of them get away?
No, the 1.7 is extra. You don't know how to read articles. You literally don't know how to read articles.
Shut the fuck up. Shut up. This says
this 1.7 is additional to the 8 million.
I know. Shut the fuck up. I know. I'm aware. I haven't disagreed with this. I've said I agree 1,000 fucking times. I never said anything different than that. You keep repeating that for absolutely no reason. It's not relevant. Stop repeating it. It has nothing to do with anything. Please, for the love of fucking God.
Where are the encounters going? Just tell me. Just tell me.
Okay.
Show me the part where these
Border Patrol
encounters went.
If Border Patrol encounters them, that means that they are being detained. Okay? Once they get detained, either they are getting either they are being able to claim asylum and they're being able to stay, or they're being returned. We just went over how many were being returned before in the first half of his administration. So we would assume, yes, it's gonna be a lot of fucking people getting returned, and some of them, as you said, there's a couple million left over. There's a couple million left over. That we would assume, yes, some of those that the couple million left over are likely able to claim asylum. So my illegal immigrants coming over under Biden is 1.7 million, and then we have about probably like 1.5 million to 2 million asylees.
Okay, so your math is there's only 3 million illegal, and 1.5 of them are waiting asylum forms.
Yeah, 1.7 million illegals. The people who are filling out for asylum, that's not illegal. They're documented immigrants.
Yeah, I know, but they're waiting but they were encountered on the border.
Yeah, if they have parole, though.
And they're inside the
correct.
USA, basically without papers.
Yeah, correct. But yeah, they were initially illegal. If they get acceptance, then and they're able to wait for a court, then during that time they are considered paroled. They have an exception, meaning they are legal immigrants. They have documentation to be here until they get their court date. So yeah.
Okay, this is good faith. I want you, and we'll move on any moment you want. I just want you to show me the report where details what happens to these 8 million once they get encountered. I just want you to show me proof they are being sent back and they're not getting detained, given a number, and sent in mass parole into the USA, and then only 4.5 of them were sent back. And then 1.7 additional, so basically 5-6 million.
Yeah, again, the 4 million were from halfway through the administration. That's the beginning of 2023. You keep saying halfway
through. 2023 is not halfway through the administration.
He started in 2021, the beginning of 2021. So he has 4 years, 2021 and 2022. That's the first 2 years of his administration. Then the beginning of 2023 and 2024 are the second.
So of course, the longer lasts, the least effective it is. So the last years is not going to be the strongest years. I promise you that, Tom. I promise you that.
Sure. Generally, I would agree with that for sure. I would agree with that. But in this case, because the numbers went up, it's going to be a bit different.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to see this report. I really need to know. And this is totally good fit. I've never read this, so you might get me here. You might have me right here. And Katmir, I'm sorry, man, you're not going to like me. But if you have me here, just give me the report that you prove that these 8 millions are being sent back, or at least only 1.5 stayed. And
just to be clear, I've said over and over, I don't have that report. I can look for it. I can see if they have one. I've said this is all I have currently.
But you've seen it. You've read it. That's how you came up with the 1.5 number? Or how did you come up with the 1.5 number? That they were taking asylum. I'm just trying to understand, because I'm being so good faith. I just want to prove that these 8 million, because Remain in Mexico is gone, exasperation of encounters, and seems like there's mass paroles added, like policies of mass paroles, and Title 42 has been destroyed. So there's nothing holding them away. There's nothing pushing them off. So my question is, can you prove to me they're being pushed off? Like, I just want to see the 8 million, and then six of them were kicked out, and then 1.5 stayed, or something close to that, please.
Yeah, so I'm just going to say this one last time. I swear I'm not going to go over this for a 10th time. This is the last time I'm going to go over this. Okay? This right here is the 4.4 million repatriations. I said that even though 9 months of that is Trump, so I will say that a quarter of that is gone. we're going to say that this is 1.5 million here. This is for halfway through the administration. So if we double this, and that doesn't really work because, as I said, the numbers go up. So we would assume there's more repatriations than it was in the first half. But if we say 3.5 million in the first half, we double that for the second half. That's 7 million, and then out of 8 million, we have another like 500,000 there. But I said that we can just round it up to like 1 million, maybe 1.5 million, and then we'll say that that's probably the amount of people that are able to claim asylum. But that would still be like way too many. But yes, I'm just trying to like give the most like charitable number and say, yeah, sure, like we could have like another 1 million, 1.5 million or so. But that's how many would be left over from the 8 million is 1 million. So that is the math, but I'll look for the report. I don't think we have updated information on repatriations. I think that is the most recent report. Everything that I've looked at still has the 4.4 million number, and that everything that I've seen doesn't have an updated number yet.
Sweet. Okay. Okay. Thank you. I'm ready. Whenever you want to send me that report, please. I'm really open for that. Okay. But I think we can come to a term of agreement. Let's just say that there was more immigrants coming in. We can agree 100% more encounters. It just seems like it's not clear where these encounters are going. A lot of these policies that were supposed to send them back are not. You're right. There are a lot of repatriations. Sorry, I've never heard that word before in my life. Repatriations.
Yeah, I didn't either before this.
Yeah, I've never heard. And then it seems like it helped, and it seems like it was on par and the same number as Trump did. So I'm just my only concern here is it just seems like there's 100% additional people in because there's no policies sending them back. And if 4.4 was the last deportations and there's 100% more, then that means there's at least 5 million, and according to other reports, up to 10 million. So that's the only. I just wanted to explain where I came up with this 10 million figure. And thank you.
Well, 100% more would mean double, so it would be 8. If it was 4 before and it's 100% more, that means it's doubled, so it's 8 million.
This is if we're looking at only the 8 million figure. I had reports of up to 15 to 16 million. And if we just look at the average there, if you just take an average there, 10, 12, it was just we'll get to the 10 million that I was trying to adhere to at the beginning, but it's okay. I think we did a really strong debate there. I think we all got our points across, and we'll let the chat decide on that. I just really like that debate you did, or interview, I would say, with Destiny, and I just wanted to kind of get into your mind a little bit because obviously you don't like the Republicans, and so I just want to know, what do you think the Democrats are going to do in the future?
So MAGA, not as much Republicans, but MAGA has become the Republicans. But yeah, I've said a number, like there's a bunch of Republicans that I would vote for if they were running for office, if they were running for president, I would vote for them. But as long as like they're MAGA, like influenced, or MAGA, loyalists, then yeah, I'm more against them.
You did mention that you don't like them because MAGA could be perpetuators of misinfo. Is there any other reason that you don't like them, that you don't agree with MAGA specifically?
Yeah, the main thing is that they are populists. I think that the populism is what leads to the misinformation. So that was same issue with like Bernie Sanders and like all populists in general, is that I think that they are just led to misinformation because of populism.
I think you're going to piss off a lot of your chat. You said you don't like populists?
I think populism is like a fucking scourge on humanity. It is like the biggest threat to America.
Wasn't AOC a populist? Isn't that why we elected her?
Yeah, she's a fucking maniac. She's getting better. From what I hear, she's done like everything that I've seen from her more recently is way better than she was in her first couple of years. But in her first couple of years, I thought that she should have been fucking like thrown in a fucking insane asylum somewhere. Like she was out of control. Her and the whole fucking squad, all of those motherfuckers were ridiculous.
Okay. Okay, because my understanding is liberals really love the populism movement. That's why Bernie Sanders was such a popular figure for the liberal establishment, non-establishment, or at least the liberal disenfranchised person who
Yeah,
felt like the left wasn't representing him. That's why they supported Bernie. He was came with populist ideas. Tulsi Gabbard was very popular and almost took
no,
over. I mean, definitely beat Kamala Harris because of her populist ideas, anti-war
I
sentiments.
don't think
My
that's
understanding
true.
is liberals are in love with populism. I'm surprised. I know you're not a liberal, but
That is
how
insanely
do you
untrue.
reconcile that you're against what most of your party stands for?
I don't literally, I don't think anything that you said is true just now. Like, I think like 100% of what you just used as your reasoning is
So
untrue.
why did the liberals
Um,
rally behind Bernie Sanders if it wasn't because he's a populist?
they didn't. He got fucking killed in the primaries. He had no shot. He had no chance. He was
You're telling me
totally
Bernie Sanders
eviscerated.
wasn't the most popular candidate and he was stolen, the election was stolen by the DNC and was given to Joe Biden? You're
I am
telling me that
100%
the
saying that,
polling
yes.
didn't show that that Bernie was going to win against Trump and that Joe Biden was going to lose and they still picked Joe Biden? Are you telling me that? Are you being serious right now? You're
I,
telling me the liberals picked Joe Biden over Bernie? Is that what you're telling me? And it wasn't the DNC that picked Joe Biden?
I am saying that Bernie is insanely unpopular, that the Democrats voted for Biden at a much higher rate than they voted for Bernie, and that Bernie and everybody else in that race never had a chance, ever. In the entire thing, they never had a chance at any point. And that Tulsi Gabbard was never popular with anybody. Neither was Kamala. She wasn't popular either. But yes, none of those people had an inkling of a shot against Joe Biden.
Wait. So liberals are not for populist movements. So you guys are not anti-war sentiments. A liberal Democrat is not voting for better economy, more medical health insurance. A liberal is not fighting for anti-establishment movements.
No,
A liberal is
the
not fighting
liberals have
to.
been the establishment party for, especially since Trump got in. The main thing has been to fight populism, and that this is one of the big reasons that establishment people like Joe Biden
I would argue that's the
Kamala
rejection. That was the
Harris.
rejection of the Democratic Party. That you guys used to be a populist party that represented working economical class, populist issues. Even Hassan Abi just did a CNN report mentioning that the Democrats need to go back to becoming
Hassan
to
is
focusing
retarded.
on working. Let
Hassan
me
is
finish,
one of the
please. I knew
dumbest
you were going to
fucks in the
interrupt me.
world.
I knew you were going to interrupt me. You won't let me finish this point because Hassan Abi just did that CNN interview and he's proving my point that he said that Democrats need. I would love to be Joe Rogan of the left and take all your money and act like I'm going to help you. But what's going to happen is that the Democrats need to go back into their economic working class populist issues that they were fighting for. Remember, that's what he said. Did you watch that CNN interview?
Yes,
Is that potentially why you guys actually lost the election? Because you guys rejected that populist idea and you started forcing some kind of weird ideology down our throats where it's hatred of the Nazi Trump?
no. Okay, so first off, the fact that you said Hassan saying something.
Hassan Alfi is a liar. Hassan Piker is a liar. Then he doesn't know what he's talking about. When he says the
Bro,
Democrats need to go back.
Are you gonna stop at some
Go
point?
ahead. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
The fact that you say Hassan saying this proves your point is insane. Hassan saying something doesn't prove anything. Hassan is one of the dumbest motherfuckers on the internet.
My point is you're saying the Democrats are trying to get away from the populist idea, while your biggest analysts and your biggest prominent streamers and your biggest reporters are calling for a rejection of that ideology and to come back to the old topics. Basically, you're conceding that this failed. This new ideology, this new idea failed. This new push against populism. That's literally what he's saying. He's saying we should go back. He didn't say I concede. He's saying we should go back.
Yeah, I'm saying that Hassan is an idiot. That Hassan.
You don't care what he says. You don't care what
Hassan
he says.
Is anti-Democrats. Hassan hates the fucking Democrats. He is not a Democrat. Of course, he has no representation of Democrats. He's a fucking communist. He has no way to speak for Democrats whatsoever. He's not a fucking Democrat. Yes,
But why did the Democrats lose then? If the rejection of populism was the way to go, why did you guys lose? Why is he wrong? Explain that. Why did you guys lose? Is it because half the country is misogynist?
No,
I really don't
you
understand
said,
this.
hold on. You said that you watched the interview with Destiny. What did Destiny and I say in that conversation?
Okay, so you mentioned that no, well, Destiny was very cold. You would agree with me. He was very cold in his answers, and he basically gave one sentence answers. And his one sentence answer for this question was basically, I don't know. We need more media control. We need more. We need to be able to control the narrative on this. I really didn't understand. Actually, I wanted to dive a little bit deeper on what you think he meant by more media control. So yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's
So
what
I don't think he ever said
Destiny's
media
only answer
control.
was he doesn't believe the Democrats did anything wrong, and that more media control is the answer. That's literally.
Okay, I don't think he ever said media control. I can pull it up to see. But
okay. I'm gonna bring it to you. I'm gonna share my screen. Go ahead.
Hold on. I've got it pulled up. I said I'm pulling it up right now. So calm down.
He literally said it the first 2 minutes.
And
he said it like 4 times. What are you talking about?
But I don't think he did. I think he said that we need to have people on narrative using the same talking points, that the Republican Party is very on narrative and on their talking points. They all say the same things, and that the Democrats aren't, they're not together. They're not working together. And so it just has that they're not like one cohesive unit, and that the media does not push all the same narrative, that they're too critical of their own party. And that makes it to where we just end up looking worse when the other side isn't critical of their own party whatsoever. That's what he was saying.
Could you actually play that interview, just the first 2 minutes, like between minute 1 and 2? That's all. Just between minute 1 and 2.
Yeah, hold on. Ask you, is that your position?
Do I think the Democrats need to go more progressive going forward? Is that the question?
So yeah, you can tell he's eating. Like he was just jumping on while I was streaming. So like you're saying he was cold, but he said he's cleaning up and he's eating. And so yeah, but he stayed for like an hour. My power went out like 20 minutes into this, and he stayed for like another hour just hanging out and talking to people. And I opened up the Discord. Tons of people jumped in and hung out and talked to him for a long time. So he wasn't like, it didn't seem cold, but yes, his answers were short in the beginning. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't think so.
Do you think they need to go more moderate? Do you think that I felt like my position was that they did need to like appeal to moderates a little bit more, because I feel like taking a moderate is normally like taking and say.
No, I think they just need to control the media environment better.
Okay, it does say control the media
just
environment.
by like giving better answers.
But even you didn't understand
yeah,
it. Even you were like, what do you mean? You would like give better you even were like, what do you mean by media control?
Well, no, yeah, I thought that he was saying that Kamala's campaign should have been better at dealing with media, because that is one of my criticisms of Kamala, is that she was bad at like how she dealt with the media, that she gave really bad answers. She wasn't good at like being personable. She never really answered questions very well.
Okay, so is it fair to say that Destiny believes that Kamal? Is it fair to say that it's easy to interpret that as when you say we need more media media environment? What did he say? Media environment
control the environment.
Control over the media environment.
Yeah, he said we need to control the environment.
Would you say it's fair for somebody that's hearing that to say, wow, to interpret that as, wow, we need more censorship and moderation and more control on who we bring up, so we can completely control the narrative and not allow anyone to speak against us ever, 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 ever?
I do think that he so again, you really like straw man people, and I have to believe at this point you're doing it on purpose. But he does believe. Yes, I understand what your question is. I'm responding to it. I understand it. But I do think that yes, one, he does believe that like social media platforms should be a lot more strict and like kick people off a lot more. But but here this is different, where he's talking about media like CNN. He's talking about like big like voices in the front, where they're not all on like the same talking points. And so where some of them will be talking about, like, if we look at the numbers, people are upset about inflation, but the numbers show that there's no issues with inflation, and Biden dealt with it better than any country. Whereas other, like CNN was very commonly saying, if we look at polling, the majority of Americans are not happy with the state of the economy. And so two different people, both telling the truth, but they're on very different like talking points, where one is like more so being overly critical of the administration, and the other one is just giving like empirical data to say, but this is the truth regardless of how people feel. And he's saying, yeah, like they're all kind of like combating each other, where the narrative seems like one is saying the economy sucks, and the other narrative seems like they're saying the economy's great, and people are getting very mixed messages from Democrats.
Can you just do a summary of what you said? Because how does that answer my question? Because my question was, is it, do you believe that somebody could interpret what he just said as, wow, we need more media control, as in more narrative control, as in more control over who we bring on TV, as in more control over everything we say, as in maybe more censorship, more moderation? Can you agree that somebody could interpret what he said as that?
Yeah, so I started off by saying he does believe that, and I do think that you could interpret it that way, but I don't think that that's what he's saying here, and I just asked him for clarification. If you want, I can play the clarification, and you can listen to him say it. But then I explained what it is he actually meant by it, but I was saying, yes, it's reasonable for somebody to take that away, but then he clarified, so I'll play this.
Would you continue?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things I can do, but I don't think it's necessarily like, I don't think the policies have much to do with it right now. It's not like conservatives run a policy. I think it's just like rhetoric and the media environment. I think these are the things they need to work on more.
Did you see
Sorry, Tom, can you stop it right there? Can you stop it? What do you think he means that our policies are not the hinder? Like, it wasn't the policies. So, because a lot, like even you, I bet you were surprised when he said that. Because even you, like, you wouldn't have said, for example, he wouldn't have mentioned the policy unless you mentioned it. So you must have been surprised when he said, no, I don't believe the policies was the issue. What was your feeling when he said that? Do you actually believe what he said there, that the Democrats basically ran a perfect campaign, that they just needed more rhetoric control and more media environment control? What does he mean there by, no, I don't believe that the policies were bad at all? Can you expand on that? Because it looked like you were surprised.
That's not what he was saying. No, that's not what he was saying. He was saying that they're not going to win or lose based on the policies that they give. He says Republicans aren't running on policies. They're not like touting their policies hardcore. They're more so talking a lot of shit about Kamala, talking a lot of shit about Democrats, talking a lot of shit about Joe Biden, talking shit about their administration, talking about how they're like communists, how they're fascists, how they're authoritarians, how they're like all of these like horrible people wanting open borders. He's saying that like, yes, they're more so talking about how bad the Democrats are, and then they're putting out like narratives like, you know, they're letting all the immigrants in, the Haitians are eating your pets, they're controlling the weather, that's what he's talking about.
So you mean that he's talking about the regular working class doesn't care about policy? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you think he was saying?
I think he's saying most people don't even know what the policies are. This is what we've been talking about a lot here, is that most people don't even know what policies they're voting for.
And how do you feel about that? Do you agree with him or do you disagree? Because
I agree. Most people don't know what policies they're voting for. They don't know anything about them.
So is it possible that you guys are wrong and this is why the Democratic Party was never going to be able to recover? Because you actually cannot see that there's anything wrong that the Democratic Party is doing. Because
again, that's not what he said. That's not what he said.
Tom, let me give you the argument here. If the only thing the Democratic Party has ever done wrong was that
that's not what he said.
Wrong. Well, what is it? What else is he saying when he says more rhetoric, more media conglomerate control? That means the messaging was off. But then you're saying none of the policies was bad. So I'm not understanding this. How are you going to message better?
He didn't say none of the policies were bad. That's not what he said. He said nobody knows what the policies are. That's what he's saying. nobody knows what the policies are. He said Republicans aren't running on policies. He's saying nobody even knows what the policies are. Nobody's voting strictly on
I think
policies.
you're speculating on what he means, because that's not what that's not when he said it in such a concise manner that I did not extrapolate all of
let me
that.
play it
Run
again.
that clip one
Yeah,
last time?
I'll play it again.
Better.
Just by like giving better answers.
Yeah, and just having it better. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things I can do, but I don't think it's necessarily like, I don't think the policies have much to do with it right now. It's not like conservatives run a policy. I think it's just like rhetoric and the media environment. I think these are the.
He said, I don't think the policies have much to do with it right now. It's not like conservatives are running on policies. I think the problem is the media environment. So he's saying Democrats are really bad at dealing with media environment, like controlling narratives, at getting narratives out, at like throwing punches, shit like that.
Okay, can you tell me what did the okay, guys, I'm destroying your boy. I'm sorry, guys. You're gonna have to leave his channel. Can you tell me what the conservatives ran on then? If it wasn't on policy, go ahead. Why did they win? If it wasn't on policy, go ahead.
So,
if the Republicans didn't run on policy, what did they run on?
Are you?
And how did they win?
Before I answer this, are you going to completely deny the 2020 election results, or can I assume that we agree in the results of 2020?
For the 2020, I believe some lawsuits actually were successful.
Sure,
for example,
but not enough to say that he won. You're
no,
correct.
but there was enough concern, and then also I was looking at the chart of there was basically 10 to 15 million extra votes that disappeared from 2020 and 2024. I would say you have a little bit of concern over that.
That's not true. No, that's not true. There's a difference of 4 million votes from 2020 to 2024. 4 million votes.
To Kamala.
Yes. Well, to Kamala, there's 7 million, or maybe less. I think it's less than 6 million. But was there a concern for Trump then when he ran in 2020? He had 62 million, and then when he ran in 2016, he had 62 million, and then when he ran in 2020, he had 64 or 74 million. He all of a sudden had 12 million more votes. Do you think that that's a concern? Do we think he was cheating now because there was a huge influx in votes? No, we don't. There's different amounts of votes literally every election. Literally every single election, there's differences in votes.
I'll send you the chart. I'll say it's not a big contention. I'm not. The 2020 is behind us, but you would say it's possible to say, and there has been some successful lawsuits. It's possible to say there has been some shady business in 2020.
Okay, correct? That's not what I asked though. I'm asking, are you denying the results? Do you think there's enough? Do you think there were enough lawsuits that were won to show that Donald Trump won the election? I can tell you there's not even close. There's only one state.
I wouldn't say there's enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say there's enough
so good.
And then I would say that there's 10 million uncounted votes that disappeared. But unless you can find them, I can't give you what happened.
Yeah, no,
I can't tell you.
I'll agree that yes, there was like some election fraud, and there always is some, but yes, just not enough for him to have won. So when we look at the fact that Donald Trump had all the same policies in 2020, and then literally the same ones in 2024, he lost, but he didn't lose because of his policies. He lost because when COVID happened, people just felt bad. They don't like being locked down. And when people feel bad about the way that things are going, they blame whoever's in charge. That's just what they do. And so I just want to finish just real quick. I promise this is quick. So Biden had a lot of inflation under his watch. It wasn't his fault either. It wasn't Trump's fault that COVID happened. It wasn't Biden's fault that the inflation happened. But people didn't like the inflation. They didn't like the way things were going. And so they blamed who was in charge. Kamala barely lost, but I feel like the only reason she lost
haven't answered my question.
I did. That is the answer.
You give an example of why there could be...
I'm telling you that they didn't lose because of policy.
But my question, Tom, you went on a tangent, man. You got to let me speak.
That was not a tangent.
You went on a tangent. You didn't answer my question. You gave an example. My question was, what did the conservatives run on for 2024 if it wasn't policy?
That was not. No, that was not your question. Your question was,
I added 2024 because you went to
hold on,
2020
hold
because you were
on,
running
hold
on a
on.
tangent.
Stop
I don't
talking.
care about
Stop talking.
2020.
Stop talking.
Destiny's
Stop talking. Stop talking. Stop talking. Stop talking. Stop talking. Stop talking. Your question was not that. Your question was, I don't know, you just pulled out a
I
second
wrote
mic
it
or
down.
something.
I wrote it down.
Okay, it's fine. That's not, I can play it again if you'd like me to. I will play your question, but I will tell you first what you, okay, stop talking. Your question was, why did Donald Trump win, or why did Kamala lose if it wasn't for the policies? That was your question. That's what you asked. That's what I answered. If you want to ask a different question now, I'm happy to answer that. But that was your question, and I'm happy to play it for you if you disagree.
No, we were talking. Tom Foolery, I'm going to prove to you. Destiny said it wasn't policies, and you said, oh, what he means by that policies are not what matter to the people. That's not what the Democrats lost. So I asked you, okay, if that's not true, and I before I did that, I apologized to your chat because I knew this was going to destroy you. So I did apologize to the chat. So you have to remember that.
Okay.
You'll see in the clip.
Hurry up.
And then I said conservatives didn't run on policies according to you and Destiny, and you don't think they matter. So how did they win, and what did they run on if it wasn't for policies?
Correct.
You exactly.
Yes.
You went to
Yes, that is the question. Yes, that's what I said. That's what I said.
And you and me were talking about 2024.
Yes,
I don't know why you went to 2020.
Yeah,
all I said was,
that's
hey,
what,
remember, you didn't answer my question, come back. That's all I was reminding you. So don't tell me I ruined anything. I was just actually bringing you back to this.
I didn't say you ruined anything. Okay, that is the question.
I didn't ask the question. You said I asked a different question. I'm reminding you.
Yes, and I'm agreeing with this one. That's different than what you said in the last one. So this is the question that you asked first, and I said Trump didn't lose in 2020 because of policy, and he had the same policies this time. But Kamala didn't lose or win because of policy either this time. Trump didn't lose or win because of policy in 2020. Kamala and Trump didn't lose because or win in 2024 because of policy. Neither one of them, their policies didn't matter. I'm saying they don't matter. If they did matter, Trump would have won in 2020, but he didn't.
Okay, again, I'm going to ask you this question again. Because you brought up 2020, so what did they run on for 2024, and how did they win if it wasn't policies? Can you please answer that question? Hopefully someday he's going to answer
I answered that question. I need you to repeat back to me what I already told you. If you somehow don't think it answered.
What you just said was, oh, and Donald Trump in 2020 lost even though he ran on policy. That means but you never dealt with the 2024 situation.
Okay,
Talk about 2024. What?
I said.
But
hold on. Wait, no. Yes. Why did I say Kamala lost in 2024? Why did I say that? What? I gave you a reason already. What did I say?
Let me remember. Give me 1 second, because it wasn't policy.
Correct.
It was according to Trump.
Which means it answered your question.
Media environment.
No, it was inflation. No, it was inflation. It was inflation. That's the answer I gave you.
You didn't mention that since we started talking about Destiny. But anyways,
I will play it right now for you if you think that. I will play it for you right now if you think that. No, because I need to keep proving that you're not listening to a fucking thing that I'm saying. Because every single time I ask you to repeat back, you have no idea what the fuck I've said. And then every time you try to respond to me, you don't respond to anything that's come out of my fucking mouth. I can't tell if you know you're doing it either, because I literally did. I said inflation in my answer. I said that the reason that they lost was because of inflation. Amounts of votes literally
about 2020, so I lost
like being locked down. And when people feel bad about the way that things are going, they blame. And it's just real quick. I promise this is quick. So Biden right here had a lot of inflation under his watch. It wasn't Trump's fault that COVID happened. Wasn't Biden's fault that the inflation happened. But people didn't like the inflation. They didn't like the way things were going. And so they blamed who was in charge. Kamala,
can I ask you a question?
That's fucking crazy. I just said the inflation. You said I didn't say it. But you admit that I did say it, yeah? Oh, okay.
Okay, now I heard it. So can I ask you a question? So you're saying the conservatives didn't run on policy, but the Democrats lost because the inflation was so high nobody liked it. So are you saying that a Green Party would have won even if they didn't run on policy? Like, I'm not understanding, like, what made the people choose the Republicans and believe that they're going to better their lives if it wasn't that Republicans were running on policies? What were they running on then? They were running on, we're going to better your inflation. Isn't that a fucking policy?
So I gave two examples, and I gave 2020 and 2024 because those are two exceptions where there were like massive problems with the country that are going to be different. So if we went back to 2016 where Trump won, I wouldn't say that he didn't win because of policy. I would say Trump won because of policy and shit like that in 2020, or sorry, 2016, that he won because of policy, his rhetoric, the way that he engaged, the fact that people liked him. I would say 2016, he definitely won because of that. In 2020, very different scenario. In 2024, very different scenario.
So far? Like, nobody's talking about 2016. What are you doing? No, your chat doesn't want to talk about 2016. Destiny didn't talk about 2016. Destiny didn't talk about 2020. You didn't mention 2020. Why are you bringing up 2020? I asked you again. I never brought up 2020. Again, final time, I'm going to ask you, if Democrats lost because of inflation and conservatives somehow took over your voters, what did the conservatives run on if it wasn't a policy of reduction of inflation?
I'm just going to replay my answer again for you so you can just hear it again so that you can, because I don't want to repeat myself over and over. So I'll just play it again for you. You can hear the same answer again.
In their life, if it wasn't that Republicans were running on policies, what were they running on then? They were running on, we're going to better your inflation. Isn't that a fucking policy?
So I gave two examples, and I gave 2020 and 2024 because those are two exceptions where there were like massive problems with the country that are going to be different. So if we went back to 2016 where Trump won, I wouldn't say that he didn't win because of policy. I would say Trump won because of policy and shit like that in 2020, or sorry, 2016, that he won because of policy, his rhetoric, the way that he engaged, the fact that people liked him. I would say 2016, he definitely won because of that. In 2020, very different scenario. In 2024, very different scenario. So yeah, I'm saying that no, they didn't care about policy in 2020 and 2024. Other elections, I agree that policy will matter. In this one, no, it didn't matter.
Okay, so again, what did the conservatives run on then? If it wasn't policy.
We're not saying that they didn't run on policy. We're saying they're not really like
policies didn't matter.
They run on rhetoric. That is always the most important thing. Your rhetoric.
What rhetoric?
So as we said, I've brought up a bunch of examples already: hurricane, immigrants, Haitians,
inflation.
Policies
of bettering your life.
Well,
so you're trying to
policies.
No. Hey.
Those aren't policies.
Tom, remember?
Those are insults. Those are criticisms.
Okay, no, it is policy. When he says immigration, because you're saying immigration or eating your cats or dogs. No, but the truth is he didn't run on eating your cats or dogs or pets. He ran on reduction of immigrants and securing the border. So you're actually a perpetuator of misinformation. Do you see yourself? Because I don't know what's wrong. I don't know why you have such a
I just said that they ran on policies, but that's not why they won. You can't engage with things.
Sorry, but you said those are rhetorics. Those are not rhetoric. You're trying to misrepresent the Republicans as rhetoricers, as if they're here to like incite Nazi kind of wordage. Like, look at the immigrants. We need to bring them down. No, that's not what happened. What happened was he was running on policies of bettering people's lives, not on rhetoric of lowering other people beneath him to the ground. That's not what he did. That's why. This is why it's kind of ridiculous for me to call you guys analysts, because you're missing the whole point. You're saying this is rhetoric, but that's policy. You just have to misrepresent it to your viewers and call it eating pets instead of call it securing border and reduction of illegal immigration across the southern border. Do you understand what is happening? So this is bringing us back to the original point. Are Republicans really perpetuators of misinformation? Do you have an actual bias against them? That's why I asked you if you were a true liberal. I didn't know what your position is, but it seemed like from hearing you with Destiny agreeing with him that policies didn't matter. That's almost impossible. How can you claim that the Republicans didn't run on any policy? When you claim that's
not
rhetoric,
what we're saying. You can keep making that claim, but that's not
you
really
claim that
what
that's
we're
rhetoric.
saying.
I claim that that's policy.
Okay, and so there's a semantic difference, but you're saying I call this policy, but we're saying yes, that exists, that is a thing, and it can lead to a policy that they would think of, but the words that they're saying and the way that they say it is what affects people. And that's like how people, all of the experts go over this, all of the like everybody who talks about elections, they all like really get into the emotional way that people feel and how they're affected by words that are being said. This is the science behind the campaigns, is why they do rallies and all this other shit, is because they're out there to get their rhetoric out, not as much the policies.
So but when you gave the example of the rhetoric, turns out all of these are policies. Immigrants.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
You can say that. That's a semantic difference, though. If you feel that way, that's fine. But I'm saying that.
So that's what I'm telling you. How are you investing in the biggest analytics guys in the world when it comes to the Democratic Party? But you can't even come up with like, it's kind of weird that you're either misrepresenting. It looks like you're misrepresenting.
Do you know what it means when I say it's a semantic difference?
Yeah, you say semantics like it's we're using the wrong word, but you can also interpret it as you're like gaslighting.
Yeah, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that when we say it's semantics, we're saying that like you're saying the same thing as us. You're just using different words to say it. But like when we talk about this, we don't just say this. We give explanations for what it is that we mean. Destiny's talked about this probably 50 different times on his show since the election. I've talked about this for probably 100 times on my show since it happened. People know what it is that we mean when we say it, but I can understand where that confusion comes in. I'm just saying that like even when it comes to policies, the rhetoric that you use to get that policy across, to make people interested in it, that is the important part.
All right. So, can you agree with me that there is possibly? Can you agree with me that if Trump, for example, says, "I'm very worried about World War III, I want to stop it," that's running on a policy of stopping World War III?
Kind of. Like technically, that is just rhetoric, but a policy would be, I'm going to implement a law that says that anybody who like entices feelings of discontent between countries, like that, those are policies. Whereas saying there's a problem, that's not a policy. That everybody agrees that like there's a problem with immigration. The policies are how you deal with it. So Trump can say there's a problem with immigration. Kamala can say there's a problem with immigration. Neither one of them are representing policies. They're both just telling you there's a problem. The policy is the solution.
Okay, so is it possible? Yeah, there might be a possible that you and Destiny are having a semantics issue. And if I didn't understand it, I wonder if the rest of your viewers understood it. Because I feel like I'm a very smart guy. Now, maybe you disagree. You've talked to me for about an hour now. So let's dive into this. So I just wanna. Do you have any more time? How long do you have with me?
I've got a little bit longer, but I would say that throughout this conversation, obviously, I've had a lot of issues with you misunderstanding everything that I'm saying. And so I do feel like there are a lot of like semantic differences, and I'm trying my best to be patient with it. But like it is, yes, I do think that like there are differences in the way things are being said and how you're interpreting it versus like what's meant to be communicated.
So now that we agree there might be a semantics issue, can you come to an agreement with me on the definition, on a different word definition, so we can kind of help me and your viewers? Because I'm dumb-witted, man. Maybe I said I'm smart, turns out I'm not. I want to switch that. I'm having semantics issues. Can you say that?
It's not about smart and dumb. It's not.
No, because you said rhetoric. I misunderstood. My understanding of rhetoric is, like what Madonna said, we should go to the White House and bomb it.
Rhetoric means influential language. That's what it means.
Like Biden, when he says we need to put a bullseye on, it's time to put a bullseye on Trump 3 days before he gets shot. That's my understanding of rhetoric. So when I see Trump I'm looking for his rhetoric. I can't find it. And then you gave some examples, and the examples you gave is one, immigrants eating pets. That's not rhetoric. He was making a point, and he did it so smartly, and I'm surprised that you didn't notice how smart it was. He could have just said, hey, the immigrants are being bad and, there are pets missing. Instead, he wanted the media to keep talking about this to make sure that everyone understands that immigration is the exasperating issue. So he said cats and dogs, right? So you guys ate it up.
Correct, that's
So
rhetoric.
so you're saying it's rhetoric. Really, what it is a play on words, so you guys can give it more attention. And he has a policy ready for it. So that's my only.
Wait,
Can you concede to that? That you need to stop using the word rhetoric when you're trying to use the word policy.
no, because I don't mean policy, as I just said. So rhetoric means influential language. That's what rhetoric means. It means you are being influential. So if I say, yeah, Kamala wants open borders. That's not a policy. There is no policy called open borders, and I'm not actually criticizing any specific policy. I'm saying that this is her value, and I'm trying to tell you that you shouldn't like Kamala because she has bad values. I'm using rhetoric. I'm trying to be influential.
Okay, but it's clear as day it's creating confusion. You even concede that there's a semantics issue.
Yeah, with policy. I'm saying with policy. I agree that I'm saying that these can lead to policies, but I'm saying that they are not policies in and of themselves. They are rhetoric that are trying to convince you that they will have good policies and the other side has bad policies.
So can you okay, after all of this conversation, did we move any forward at all in that the Democrats needed better policies? Because my whole contention is that these presidential races are won and lost based on policy. They're not won and lost based on ideology. They're not won and lost based on a single issue like you would like that to happen. Maybe if it's a big enough issue like economy, yeah, but abortion is just not. So the idea that policies are extremely important to win elections, but Destiny doesn't even believe that policy is the problem. Instead, he's telling your viewers it should be more rhetoric control or more media environment control. I'm just sitting here. I'm trying to understand. Did that surprise you? Because I understand that we need Democrats need to switch their policies. They need to adapt more working class, kind of like what Hassan Piker said earlier, and I mentioned it to you. Working class populist economic issues. That's what they need to go back to. So what's your position on that? Do you disagree with me that I believe that Democrats need to fix their policies, or do you agree with Destiny that it's actually has nothing to do with policies? After we went through this, that obviously there was some kind of semantics issue. Maybe Destiny meant with rhetoric that their policies are rhetorical or rhetoricy, like they sound like they could be interpreted in a bad way, but really when you look into it deeper, it
Well, no,
could
just to be
be
clear,
beneficial.
you're not saying, you did say specifically those are policies, but you don't actually mean those are policies, because policies are laws that you're trying to implement. So what you even mean, hold on, let me finish. You're saying these are things that would lead to a policy. So you're saying if he criticizes them on, like, he says something about Haitian immigrants, that would lead to him saying, like, wait, am I? Okay, go ahead.
No. What I mentioned was that you said the rhetoric, and then you gave examples. I'll remind you why I mentioned the immigrants eating the cats, because you mentioned that as part of the rhetoric, and you gave example of Trump rhetoric. Then I reminded you, hey, you're kind of strawmanning Trump. He didn't say they're just eating the cats. He was trying to make a point that the exasperation of illegal immigrants is creating a health and a border crisis and security crisis, and he's going to dive into that. So
sure.
you're picking and choosing.
No, that's what I said. That's what I just said. Wait, no, you said that I was
no.
That's what I said.
Let me finish my point. Okay, let me finish my point.
You interrupted my point, and to say that I was strawmanning you, and I'm trying to let you know that is what I just said. That's the same thing.
See how you interrupted me because you just stopped talking there. And
I
you didn't have
allowed you
anything
to interrupt me.
You're interrupting me.
I allowed you to interrupt me. I allowed you to interrupt me, but yeah, sure.
Let me finish the point then. Let me finish the point. Allow me to finish the point. So the whole point is, if policy is, if rhetoric, if you're saying that rhetoric cannot equal to policy, in my opinion, when Trump goes up to stage and says, I want to. Okay, no, what you said was that Trump said that illegal immigrants are eating the pets. And then you acted like that's rhetoric. And then I pointed out, hey, that's a straw man. They're not, Trump didn't say they're eating the pet in a rhetorical manner, as if he's bringing damage and he wants them to be hurt. He said it as
I
in,
don't think so.
hey,
Hold
look,
on,
we
wait,
have an
hold on.
exasperation
Hold on, wait,
of
wait, wait.
problem. Let me
Hold on,
finish
hold
my
on. No,
point.
no,
Let me finish the point.
no, we
He
have
said-
to
no,
solve
because
this.
he didn't
No,
say
we
it in
have
a
to solve
rhetorical
this.
manner.
Hold on.
He said it
I'm
in
serious.
policy. He said,
Seriously.
listen,
I
I
allow you
care
to interrupt
about
me
the
over
American
and over,
people.
bro.
There's an
You
Let me
get
finish.
so no, I allow you to interrupt me fucking all the time, but you start throwing
You won't let
hissy
me
fits
finish the
every
point, so you keep arguing random
Yes,
strawmen, by the
because
way.
no, I'm not. There are 20
You
different
don't know what
things.
you don't know what I just
Okay,
argued.
listen, there's 20 different
Okay,
things
repeat.
that
What
you
did I
said.
ask you? What did I ask you to prove? Go ahead.
Hold on. I promise you I will get to it. But you've said 20 different things so far that I disagree with. I would like to take them one by one. But if you build your argument off of something that I say, I didn't say that. But then you keep arguing against the thing that I've already said.
Yeah.
I didn't say that. You
I was being nice to you. I was being nice.
hold on. I stopped
I let
when
you change your
hold
definition of
on.
rhetoric.
Hold on. When you said that's not my argument, I stopped. You said you're strawmanning me. I didn't even start my argument yet. I just repeated back your argument, and you said you're strawmanning me. So I immediately stopped because I'm not going to continue arguing against something if that's not what you're saying. But when I do the same thing, you keep going for very long periods of time arguing against something that I've already told you isn't my argument. If you keep arguing against something, you're just going to go on for a long period. And then when you stop, I'm going to say, yeah, that has nothing to do with my argument. You just wasted your breath. I am stopping you to say that that's not my argument. And we have to get an understanding. What do you think rhetoric is? What is that to you? What does that mean?
Rhetoric is
gotcha.
like not
I'm just trying to understand.
Inflammatory speech that's trying to incite hatred, violence, something, anger. It's inflammatory in nature. Show me proof that Trump was inflammatory. When you try to exert
hold on, wait, hold on.
let me
I just
finish
asked
my
you for
point.
no, I'm not letting you finish. No, I just asked for a definition. That's all I asked for. I just asked for a definition.
When you try to give examples, when you
I
let me
just
finish.
asked you for a
Just
no,
let me finish.
no. I'm not
Just
letting
let me
you finish.
finish.
No,
Just let me finish.
no.
When you try to give
I'm
examples,
muting
you said the rhetoric of eating immigrants eating cats.
He's muted. Okay. All right. We have to go on these one at a time. This is the problem with every single fight we have, is that you go on for way too long and we can't take things one at a time. I'm allowing you to stop me so we can go one at a time. You don't allow me to stop you. I said when I stopped you, we need to take things one at a time. I just asked you for a definition. I don't need you to give another 10 arguments here. I just want a definition. That's it. That's all. Our main disagreement right now is on the definition of rhetoric. That is our whole disagreement, is on the definition of rhetoric. So we need to just fix that first before we move on. That's all. So I want you to give your arguments. I just need to focus on the word rhetoric first.
Inciting of violence doesn't lead to anything except hatefulness, anger. If
so
he said something that could be, let me finish, please. Then
I heard your definition already. Stop.
Guys, I can't even give him a definition.
This is yes, you correct. You already gave your definition. You don't need to give it three
more
times.
No, I was
you already
gave
it
example.
twice.
Example,
no, I don't need an example. I don't need an example. Stop. I'm literally going to kick you off. No, I'm going to kick you off. You are you fuck with me one more time, I'm kicking you off. You are too fucking, I can't even believe you're real. Truly everybody in chat saying you're a troll. I'm starting to believe it. I'm starting to believe it. Okay. This is my fucking show. You stop when I tell you to stop. Okay? That's it. I am being fair, but if you don't think so, fine. But okay. The definition of rhetoric is the art of effective, persuasive speaking or writing, especially the use of figures of speech in compositional techniques. I said all throughout Kamala's interviews, she needs to be better with rhetoric. I kept telling her, you need to work on rhetoric. I was a rhetoric coach for a while. I coached rhetoric. I'm not coaching people how to be hateful. I'm not telling Kamala to be more hateful. We're telling people to be more persuasive. That's all it is. Okay.
Holy shit. So right now you're saying that the whole time that you've been mentioning rhetoric, it's actually not a bad word?
Correct. It's just persuasion.
So this whole time you guys have been saying that Trump's rhetoric is dangerous. That's actually not like it wasn't negative. So his speech?
The dangerous
I'm not
part. No, we're saying his rhetoric is dangerous. No, we're saying his rhetoric is dangerous. That doesn't mean rhetoric is dangerous. It means his rhetoric is dangerous. If rhetoric already meant dangerous, we wouldn't have to say his rhetoric is dangerous. We can say they have rhetoric. That doesn't mean it's dangerous. Or we can say they have dangerous rhetoric. that makes the rhetoric dangerous now.
Okay, so his rhetoric, which is basically his speech. So you're using the word. Listen, this is another explanation and another example where you're a misrepresenter of information and you're a misinformationist specialist. So basically, instead of saying speech, you use the word rhetoric.
That's not.
And then
no,
it comes
no,
to
it's
negative connotation.
persuasive. It's not speech. It's persuasive language to try to convince somebody of something. I'm
Okay.
showing you a definition right
when
here.
you- but
I
when
can
you
go to
present
I can
it-
go to
no,
10
let me
more
ask-
definitions if you would like.
Tom,
All definitions
do you
say the same
remember?
thing.
Can you play the clip when I asked you what was Trump's rhetoric, and you gave examples, and one of them was the immigrants eating the dog, the animals, immigrants eating the animals. Can you
Yes.
play that clip because it sounded like you used the word rhetoric in a negative connotation automatically. So you didn't say his rhetoric is dangerous. You said his rhetoric is here, and then you started pointing out. Go play it again, please.
Wait, but that I don't need to play it if I agree with you. But I'm saying that if I'm saying that, I'm telling you.
But you
that-
presented it as if it was dangerous. It was in a negative way. All you meant
No.
was his speech.
No, I was saying it as though it's a persuasive argument that makes Kamala and Biden look bad. That's what I'm saying. He is good with persuasive rhetoric. He is or persuasive language. So I don't have to use the word rhetoric. He's good at persuasive language that is making them look bad. So when he says stuff like that, and I said, you know, his rhetoric about open borders as well, right? Like that's not he's not doing anything dangerous or that's going to like hurt anybody by saying they want open borders. He's just making them look bad. This is him making them look bad, and we're saying that rhetoric is something that wins elections. That is like the important thing. That if you can persuade people to believe the other side is bad, that's very beneficial.
So all you meant by rhetoric was that he's talking. Finally, somebody sent you a gifted appreciation. Man, guys, make sure you guys donate to your king here, Tom Fuller. He's a really good, nice guy. I mean, he's sitting down with me. I'm a very tiny channel, and he's actually taking me seriously. I really appreciate him. So you guys, make sure you donate to your boy. But okay, so now that I understand that a little bit more, so Destiny's point here is that we needed to be a little bit more persuasive, not in terms of focusing on policies, but in terms of persuading them to follow us in our speech. But isn't that what the Democrats tried to do? They were heavily trying to be persuasive. They tried, Kamala Harris, for example, mentioned her tax cuts. She mentioned a lot of policies, and you know, she tried to tie herself to a lot of policies that were supposed to help the middle class. So are you saying they didn't do that at all, or
No.
just that Trump did it much better, and that you're going to adapt some of the Trump playbook? What was he mentioned? What does he mean by that?
A bit of both. When you say like she mentioned policies, we would separate those from rhetoric. We would say that, yeah, if she's saying this is what I can do for you as president, we would say that's not really rhetoric, even though that is a good way to persuade people. That's more like objective. This is what I will do. Whereas rhetoric is just trying to be persuasive, trying to say things in like a persuasive way. So saying they're eating the cats and dogs, that's not really like a policy there, but it can make her and Biden look bad, like they're just letting way too many immigrants into the country, and now there's negative outcomes from it, and it's their fault. They're fucking everything up in the country. That's more so what we're saying. So we're saying that yes, they did mention policies, but they talked about them a little bit at the beginning, and then kind of got away from them, and then came back, and then got away, and they weren't consistent in their like narrative driving.
Can I give you an alternate theory, and you tell me how far away from the truth I am?
Yeah, sure.
Is it possible that the Democrats thought that they can run on a single issue, and they thought that they can capture the women's vote using Kamala, and then they brought in Tim Walz to try to capture timid men's votes, and they were so confident, they believed that they were going to win. Because they had in their books, in their pockets, that hey, we can also run that our opponent is a criminal, and we have the top policeman in the world here, So is it possible that they actually ran on very persuasive rhetoric, and their policies were outlined clearly? They were going to try to help the middle class. They're trying to help businesses. It's just that they were so unliked, and they actually misunderstood that single issues might be important to women, but these women are not going to show up to vote, and they kind of miscalculated that. So is that, how far am I that the Democrats lost? Please tell me.
I think that there's just way more that happened there. Like the fact that there wasn't a primary and then Biden dropped out because after his debate performance against Trump, he was so bad that he had to drop out. Then because he dropped out so late that there wasn't time really for a full primary, but their plan was to run a primary and have a bunch of different people go and run. But then Kamala, because the FEC rules allow her to take Biden's campaign money because she was on the ticket, she was able to immediately come out, start running commercials, start saying, I'm the leader, I'm the fucking, Democratic candidate, and everybody else could have run against her, but they didn't already have millions of dollars in campaign money. So they had no chance to even compete with her. So none of them even tried. Then she built her platform. The DNC said, okay, we're going with Kamala. They ran their convention. She was the leader. They go into the general. And then in the general, after the debate, her polling spiked. She was doing really well when she was talking about policy, talking about like him being a criminal. And then they stopped. They stopped talking about him being a criminal. They stopped talking about their policies. And they started talking about a bunch of other shit, like a ton of other shit that was just horrible. Like they looked really, really bad. And she started doing interviews. She looked horrible in the interviews. She didn't answer questions. She definitely didn't answer them well. She was not like rhetorically advantageous. And so she just like kind of flopped towards the end of her campaign. And you just real quick.
My understanding is they actually thought they were going to win till the last day. Like they actually thought they're going to have Pennsylvania, and they kept saying we're going to have Pennsylvania till the last moment.
Maybe
like she actually refused Joe Rogan because she thought she needs to stay in the great belt states and stuff like that.
Maybe she did. You said you watch a lot of my content. Do you know
let
what
me
I
ask you a
said?
question. Let me see how good faith are you. Let's say that Joe Rogan experience interview. How much do you think it hurt her? Like, give me a percentage. How much do you believe, at least of the American people, would have been affected by hearing her in that Joe Rogan interview, and potentially could have been skewed to her favor?
I have no idea, because it's totally possible, because of how like she's just not personable. She's not very charismatic. She's not good at like talking very well. Having a long form interview where she's sitting there for a very long period of time talking could have just hurt her. It could have only hurt her, and she could have only looked bad. Or yeah, she could have done really well and been like finally looked like a real human to people and done really well. I have no idea. But I did want to ask, you said that you watch a lot of my content. Do you remember what I said about the like about the swing states and about like her chances of winning and all of that? Do you remember any of this?
No, I don't actually. Can you, if it's important, you can remind the viewers.
Well, I said that Trump was going to win all six swing states, and that she was going to get eviscerated.
Really? Why did you come up with that analysis? What made you think that?
Polling was
okay.
like
You were reading polling.
Yeah.
So there was some polling showing. It was just they were kind of on the news. They were kind of maybe. Well, it was. They were showing some scary pollings. There was just other pollings that were a little bit further off. For example, like Lichtman and his keys and all that. But yeah. Anyways. Okay, so. I think we got to the point here because you kind of conceded that Kamala was a pretty bad candidate. So could you say maybe that there is more to that than meets the eye? Could you say maybe that American people don't care about policy. you said that's what Destiny thinks, and they care more about rhetoric and persuasion and like showing off what you're gonna help them with, which is basically policy. I'm surprised that, like, what is rhetoric except if it's showing your policies, you're persuading on policy. So it's kind of crazy that you guys are agreeing that policies
This
don't
is
matter.
just
It's kind
how
of crazy. Anyway,
this is
I want
just
to
how
move
people
on from
talk
that.
about it in politics. Like
I
really,
know.
like all of the
Okay.
experts like kind of agree that yes, most people, if you go ask them what are the policies of Donald Trump, they don't know what it is that he says he's going to implement as far as like laws go, as far as policies, as far as like executive orders, as far as what he's going to try to get Congress to do. Nobody knows. They have no idea. The same for Kamala. They don't really know what the exact policies are. They just know what the rhetoric is that they use.
Okay, yeah. So my question is it possible there's more than meets the eye, that she was just an actual horrible candidate, that she tried the persuasion, it was bad, that she was just so unliked, that she gaslit the American people too much, that there was way too much lying and misrepresenting of facts on the Democratic side, saying, for example, that the immigration issue is not that exasperated. FEMA funds are not going to the immigrants. The Gaza, we're gonna try to find a solution for it, and we're gonna get you a 6-week ceasefire. Is it possible that she just could not actually? And you kind of dived into that a little bit. She just couldn't connect to the American people at all. Like, she could have had the best she was saying the best policies. She was saying the best persuasions. Maybe if Gavin Newsom said the exact same things she was saying, he would have been able to say in a more charming manner, to be a little bit more rhetorical and persuasive. Do you agree with me that she was just so unliked by the American people that they could hear her policies, they just did not trust her?
That's definitely one part of it. And I wouldn't deny that. It's just that it doesn't seem to be the most important part. And so that's more so when we're saying the most, because she barely lost. Like, there was just she lost the Electoral College by 2.5, or sorry, 2,000.
She didn't take a single swing state. That's my understanding.
Yeah, no, she didn't. But she lost the Electoral College by 250,000 votes. That's it. That's less than 1% of the. That's less than 0.5%. That's like 0.01.
Yeah, but it seems like yeah, but Tom, the point of the actual election isn't that the number of the Electoral College, is the actual voter.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
No.
That's why I'm agreeing with you, but I'm saying, wait, I just let you interrupt me, and I'm saying that I agree with that, but I'm saying that she could have won the Electoral College with just 250,000 votes. That's all she needed to win the election. She only lost the popular vote by, was it 2 million votes? Like, she was not this horrifically unpopular person. She wasn't this person that nobody was going to vote for. She lost by just a little bit. And seems like, yeah, the biggest cause of it, when we look at exit polling, most everybody says the reason is because of inflation under Joe Biden. That was the reason.
So but what I'm trying to argue is that if you presented somebody else, like an AOC, for example, let me just think about it with me, that she could have at least been more like she could have at least figured out a way to be a little bit more rhetorical. She could have been more persuasive. That it's actually that Kamala Harris was the actual personality that was the issue. Is it possible? Is it possible that people just didn't trust her? Like, what's your, like? Because my understanding is people, the Democratic Party had a huge shift in the voting demographic. The people that they rely on the most left them. Why did they leave? Why were they persuaded away? Why is Trump such a smart debater? Is it that Kamala is just a horrible candidate? What happened? You and the Destiny, you guys, it was very kind of expose, because you guys act like you're political analysts, but there was no analysis there. You guys totally agreed with one another. You didn't push back on any points. 100% you agreed with him on everything.
Wait, yes, hold on. But that's not true that there's not any analysis. We talked about the exit polls. We talked about what people said were their biggest issues. We talked about why we thought that they lost. We just happened to agree on these things. But that doesn't mean that there was no analysis because we didn't disagree. It just means that we happened to agree on all of these things. There wasn't when you're bringing up issues, you're saying, hey, these are issues too. Yeah, of course, those are included. That I said it in there that I thought that she was really bad in interviews, but that's not the main
But you're
issue.
saying all she has to do, but you're saying you and Destiny basically what you agreed upon is all she has to do is do better interviews, or next time just do better interviews and kind of be more persuasive on policy.
Yeah,
so how can she do that next time? How can they do that better?
He said,
shouldn't they show up on?
He said the media needed to do better. He was saying that because I said, well, you mean like answering questions better? And he's like, yeah, I guess, but not really. Like, it's more so about like controlling the narrative and being able to like get a simple, cohesive narrative out. So he's saying that, as I mentioned earlier, like the CNN and like MSNBC, like they're not putting out like how great Biden did with inflation. They're not talking about how our country compared to all other countries had defeated it the fastest. We had some of the lowest inflation. We had had like better wages after inflation. We did the best out of the entire world, but they weren't talking about that. They were just talking about the fact that people didn't feel good under inflation. And so that sort of rhetoric is like detrimental to their candidacy. So when we look at the policies, well, policy-wise, if people were voting on policy, Kamala would have won because Biden did a very good job with inflation. If that's everyone's number one issue, but Kamala would have had a fucking clean sweep across the board. But they...
wait.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean he did a great job with inflation? My understanding is exasperated underneath his administration.
So we had inflation. One of the ways that they dealt with it was by spending more, which did exasperate it a little bit. But the main cause of inflation was COVID. The whole world had inflation, the whole world. And we had the biggest economy and didn't have the worst inflation. We were barely in the top 20.
Okay,
and
but yeah,
we have the biggest fucking economy.
Historically, in the past like 30 to 40 years, we never had 9% inflation until Biden.
Correct. As I just said, COVID was everybody had record-setting inflation, the whole world after COVID.
Yeah, but Trump had COVID as well. Trump actually finished COVID underneath his administration.
I don't know why you keep mentioning that. Did he have to deal with the after effects? Did he have to deal with the after effects of inflation? No, I don't know why you're bringing that up. It's not relevant.
Stimulus checks would have been better than Trump. Yeah, he would have actually gave you the 2,000, whereas Biden only sent you like 1,400.
Yes, but that was part of what actually exacerbated inflation was the amount of money that they were giving people. That is part of what exacerbated it. So
the money was just a small part. The PPP loans, the CARES Act, the Affordable Rescue Plan. The
I said it was a small part. I said it was a small part. But yes, these are also some of the things that fixed inflation as well. So when we're talking about the fact that we have, hold on, wait. When we're talking about the fact that we have,
did Biden create inflation or he fixed it?
He did not create inflation. No, the COVID created inflation, but we had, again, the biggest economy, and we did not have anywhere near the worst inflation. Nowhere close. You have to look at things in context. You can't just say there's inflation, therefore bad. But that's what most people do. But people who actually analyze things, we're looking at it in context. Okay, COVID creates inflation for the whole fucking world, yet we have inflation, and we don't have it nearly as bad as everybody else, yet we have the biggest economy. We should have the worst inflation, but we don't. Then we actually recovered from inflation before any other G3 nation. Of all the biggest economies in the world, we recovered the fastest. We had one of the lowest per capita, in terms of GDP out of all G10 nations. Like, we were the best at dealing with it.
What was the highest number of? What was the highest percentage of inflation underneath Trump? Do you remember?
No. Did he deal with the after effects of COVID? Did he deal with the after effects of COVID?
Yes, he actually
No, he did not. No, he did not. No, he did not.
Let me finish, please. Let me finish. He
shut down. You can look at it. Look, I'll show you the image. In 2020, he shut down the economy. You can see a huge drop. Then you can see a huge spike forward, and you can see a little bit more recovery all the way till January 21. So he had almost completely recovered the jobs gain completely by the time Joe Biden came in. And his inflation was at 2.4 by the time he had completely recovered. I'll show you that. I'll send you the link.
Bro, it doesn't matter. The biggest parts of inflation came. It doesn't matter. It's not relevant. He had to be in office like a year after COVID had been around for like a year, but he wasn't.
No,
it's not relevant.
Tom, you cannot blame COVID for the inflation. I'll tell you what you can blame for the inflation, and it's totally under Biden. And I've already had a debate with Non-Fawn about this, and I destroyed him. So I'm going to show you, and I'm going to apologize again to all your viewers. Everyone blames Biden for the exasperation of the inflation because under him, remember, we were supposed to take it in the chin and sanction Russia. And those are the actual policies that led to the inflation, if you remember correctly. It wasn't the American Rescue Plan, even though it was an amazing amount of spending. It was shutting down and sanctioning Russian gas and Russian oil and exasperating the energy crisis. That's what created the supply chain issue, which created an exasperation of inflation. This is why everyone's connecting inflation to Biden. It's not because of COVID. It's because he and his own policies decided to create Ukraine, immense spending on it, and exasperate the inflation underneath that. You can link Ukraine and the sanctions on Russia to the inflation exasperation.
To a small degree, but not really. The money that there
Complete
wasn't like
degree.
no, there
Complete
wasn't
degree.
cash going. There wasn't cash going to fucking Ukraine. We didn't send cash to Ukraine. Stop! I just let you go on for a long period, bro. We didn't send cash to Ukraine. We were sending weapons, old weapons that had been sitting in warehouses for decades. We didn't send them cash. Ukraine was not hurting our inflation. We sent fucking weapons. That doesn't hurt our inflation. There was some money sent to. There was a very small amount of money sent to Ukraine, but there was some. But there was some money sent to Israel as well, but again, mostly fucking weapons and like military shit. Like that didn't have much to do with inflation. COVID was by far the majority of inflation. You can look at every fucking analysis of this. COVID is by far the majority of inflation.
Didn't hurt. The sanctions on Russia didn't do anything to the economy in America. We weren't supposed to take it on the chin for Ukraine. Isn't that what
again, if you are you going to argue that that's the majority of it? Are you going to argue that that's more than COVID?
Yeah, Germany's economy faltered. France went on a dehydration drought. The Belarus and the Eastern Europe disenfranchised with Western Europe and started doing their own, like they lifted the sanctions because they were like, wow, we're going to destroy our economies. America's inflation exasperated the moment, and gas prices and all domestic and grocery prices exasperated the moment that war started. Are you actually arguing that the Ukrainian war did not affect the American economy in any way? Is that what your argument?
No, I said it's not worse than COVID. If you want to get into that shit, we can start getting into the fucking fact that Trump spent more than double when it comes to Biden's entire fucking administration. Like, if we want to get that deep into it, but that still isn't, even though Trump really affected our fucking economy, it wasn't the majority of it. It wasn't. It was COVID. I can make a bunch of arguments for how he negatively affected the economy, but it's just not the majority of it. It's still COVID. It's still not
explain
Trump.
Explain to me why inflation underneath Trump didn't exasperate to 9%, but it exasperated underneath Biden, even though Biden spent much less than Trump. Go ahead, explain that.
When you say exasperated, what do you mean?
Link it to COVID. Link it to COVID.
What do you mean exasperated?
So you're saying that Trump spent more, but his inflation was much less. You need to link how spending is linked to inflation because it doesn't. This is not correlatory. So it doesn't seem like spending is linked to inflation.
No,
because
I didn't say that.
Let me finish.
That's what you're saying. That's what you're saying.
Let me finish.
No, I just asked you a question. You're answering it. You already answered it. I'm saying that's what you're doing.
Let me finish. Trump had more spending. I'm looking at your chart right here. Trump had more spending, but less inflation. So how can you link spending to inflation?
Again, okay. Oh my goodness. Bro, you don't have to keep repeating yourself. I already got it. You already answered my
Bro,
question.
I
And I can
can't
wait 20
finish
years.
because I was gonna finish a point, bro. I was gonna tell you, how can you link it to inflation, and what else can you? How is it correlatory when that doesn't make sense? Can you?
It's
How
not.
about I bring you something else at the same time that happened? That
It's
was the
not.
actual Ukrainian war and the sanctions on Russia, and I'll prove to you right now. Go ahead.
It's not. As I keep saying, you're arguing against something that I didn't say. I didn't say it's correlation. Didn't say this.
Okay, so how did Trump spend more but had less inflation? Go ahead, explain.
Okay.
Why are you
This
showing
right
us
here is a net 10-year debt approved. Okay. So Trump was not in office for 10 years. I don't know if you're aware of this, but he was not in office for 10 years. Okay. And this even splits it up between COVID spending and non-COVID spending. When you when it comes to government spending, obviously it is not a 1-for-1 when we talk about spending versus inflation, but some of it does affect our inflation. And when you're using like what other economies are going through and what Biden did to try to compare this to fucking COVID, I'm saying I could do the same thing with literally every economic decision made under Trump had a net negative for the economy, and still it wouldn't actually come anywhere close to how COVID affected us overall. It just wouldn't. We had tons of businesses going out of business. We had to give Americans tons of money. We had to do tons of different projects to open up more businesses and bring in more money. We had to do tons and tons of things. And so Biden's plan, but again, it doesn't matter. What matters is when we look at every other country.
I have proof. I'm going to send you a link, and I'm going to send it to your viewers first, and then I'm going to read from it. It says here, Russia is the world's second largest fertilizer exporter behind Canada. It has long provided large quantities of cheap fertilizer to the U.S. to the point that Biden administration implemented anti-dumping tariffs ranging from 9% to 47%. Despite the tariffs, Russia remained the second largest exporter of fertilizer to the U.S. and its largest foreign source of nitrogen. If sanctions against Russia are eventually expanded to include natural gas, thereby raising worldwide prices, the situation will worsen. Natural gas is a component most nitrogen-based fertilizers, which further helps explain why President Biden and other Western have not targeted Russian fuel exports. So you see how Biden targeting Russian natural gas, Russian oil, Russian and Ukrainian exporters is directly, and I'm going to send you this, and I'm showing it to my viewers for now, directly linked to an exasperation in worldwide prices, which leads into an exasperation of inflation. I'm going to send you this article right now.
Okay, this isn't relevant. That's not relevant. But
yes, it is, because the argument is COVID-19 is not enough for you to blame inflation on, because Trump had COVID-19 and he never saw this inflation.
Yes, you didn't show anything in there that said how much inflation that cost. You never even got to it. Never came across nothing you said was relevant whatsoever. You just said a bunch of big numbers, and then you think that affects inflation. I can't do this again with you, just like you did with fucking immigration. You just kept arguing a bunch of random numbers, thinking that proves some sort of point. Okay, again, as I said, it doesn't matter if it doesn't actually say exactly how much inflation this caused, then it's not relevant. It doesn't matter. I don't know why the fuck you're sending me something I just told you is fucking irrelevant, and I can't hold your hand through every single fucking argument that you make to try to like get you to engage with me. I can't do this every fucking time.
Listen to this. The article says, look, I sent it to your friends, to your viewers. This is the beginning of the article. Says, while mounting trade sanctions against Russia may devastate its economy, the United States and other sanctioning nations will likely be affected indirectly based on how the conflict roils commodity markets. Mm-hmm. And now we know that it's actually affected it negatively, heavily, because it actually destroyed it. So the report is proving to you. Now, I didn't give you the perfect number because we're looking at it, and the conclusion is that it hit 9%. But what's happening is I'm trying to explain to you how did it hit 9%. I don't have to prove to you the number. I don't have to, because the number is already existing. 9% is real. It exists.
I'm showing to you how we prove it. And this article is giving a glimpse. It's saying, yeah, you're right. Sanctions, COVID can be a little bit hitting, but turns out sanctioning Russian oil is devastating to world economy and specifically sanctioning economies. So the economies that are sanctioning the commodity marketer and exporters also affected by the sanctions, by the way. That's what this article is mentioning. And so it's saying there's devastation effect to Russia, but it's going to be collaborated back onto us. So I don't have to prove to you a number. I just have to prove to you what is the reason. I have to give you a possible and a different explanation than